Are we? Yeah. Oh, yep. We're live, and it's Christmas. Christmas, and well, yeah. It's a Merry Christmas to everybody who's watching. And it's special. This stream is special because we got. It's not just me and Matt. We've also got Tank and Dan with us.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Very rare.
Merry Christmas.
Yep. Merry Christmas.
Y'all. So, how was your guys' Christmas?
It was absolutely splendid. I mean, my greatest gift is a brand new contract starting next year. We're going to be moving all the way across Florida. Fresh start for the whole family. Everyone got gifts they've been asking for. The kids got a fantastic telescope and a little app that they can use to find constellations and turn it into a little game. So I'm thrilled. I can't wait to see them get into that.
You know, Dan, the way my dad always put it was that when you're a parent, the greatest gift is having children.
Beyond. I mean, the running gag is that in my stocking, I always get coal. I've gotten coal for the past 8 years straight. And this year, my daughter was saying, I'm going to ask Santa not to give you coal this year because she feels sorry for me. And I say, no. Santa and I have this thing going. I always get coal. And he's in on the gag, so it's cool. But she still said, Santa, don't give him coal this year. And so, she's a little sweetheart. But yeah, like you said, the only reason I do it is so that I can see their mouths drop open when they say, how did Santa know I wanted this? That kind of thing. That's what makes the whole year worth it.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt about it.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I fall under what DNC he classifies as a childless weirdo.
Nah, man, you still got plenty of time. Don't rush it. Do it when it's with the right person, under the right circumstances. The last thing we need is any more broken families. So make sure you're with a nice, healthy, stable person that wants the same things you want, that has the same values you have, and has the same ideas about child raising that you do, so that everything just works out.
Lord knows I came from a broken family.
Yeah, let's just say that DNC has more than enough on its plate when it comes to broken families.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have a friend who almost has as many baby mamas as him, but Richard still takes the cake in that category. I mean, the man has spread his seed far and wide.
Yeah. Hey, there's Panzer comics.
Hey, Panzer.
Yeah. But yeah. Yeah, it's just that when my dad was my age, he was already married, and it was not too far that I was conceived.
Yep. Don't feel any pressure, dude. Just do it when it's with the right person, like I said. You got plenty of time. You're a guy. You don't have the same clock as women do.
I'm 28. Yeah, but my dad basically says the same thing.
Yeah, the last thing you need is to bring a kid into this world and only have some psycho use it as baby jail.
Yep.
Yeah. God knows we don't. Yeah.
Don't need any more of that.
We've also got Celestial Sentinel, which is good.
Yeah.
All right. Your kid's got presents. Wait, how old is your daughter again?
She is 7 years old, and she's smarter than I am.
She's 7 years old, and she still believes in Santa?
This is probably the last year I'm going to get away with it. Because we go through some pretty dastardly lengths to make our kids believe in it. My son, I actually photoshopped pictures of Santa into our house, and I always leave a lot of evidence. I eat the cookies, and I write in cursive handwriting to him and all that stuff.
I have a hard time believing your son still buys. He's like, what, 14?
Yeah, he's 14, and this was years ago when he stopped believing in Santa. I mean, I think he believed into it all the way up until he was 9 because we played it so ridiculously over the top.
Makes sense.
And this year, my daughter actually had an idea. She said, I don't really I can't really believe in this without hard evidence. So she actually booby-trapped the front door because we don't have a chimney. And she sprinkled baby powder all over the place and said, I'm going to catch footprints of Santa. And yeah, I actually got up in the middle of the night and put on boots and made the footprints.
Damn.
So our kids have hard evidence, so that's why they tend to believe in it a bit more.
Amazing. Also, mixing. I'm gonna tell you guys, mixing eggnog with proper 12. I should have used a spoon because I can still. Because man, the whiskey is kicking like a mule.
Yeah, you got to make sure it's diluted, man. You got to just have it an essence of the alcohol, not have the alcohol with eggnog on the side.
It's the only alcohol I got. I'm not gonna use, and I've told, and because this, Dan, do you understand? This is proper 12 whiskey. This is Conor McGregor's personal brand.
Well, I don't doubt your Irish pedigree. I'm just saying, mix it properly.
Do you have an idea how expensive this is? I got this for my birthday. From a friend. If I can't break it out for the special occasions, what else am I going to use it for?
Exactly. I mean, this is the perfect time to use it. So yeah, let it rain, my friend.
Yes. I don't care if it doesn't make proper eggnog. It's just like I want to make that. This is, God knows when I'll ever get another bottle like this again. So I'm going to make it last.
Well, I have several bottles of Crystal Head vodka that I still haven't finished up. That stuff is excellent.
Yeah, vodka and me are good friends. There's a bit of history behind that. No, I don't mean that it's in a bad way. It's just me and my one friend, we used to do, back when Counter-Strike was still big games, And I'm talking prior to this gambling stuff that they got going on now. Counter-Strike 1.6, local lands the whole time. We would take the one Christmas we had a LAN for, because why not? So we had a couple of bottles of Smirnoff vodka, and we put it down to every second kill, we take a shot. Needless to say, around
that sounds catastrophic.
30 minutes later, we were down a bottle and a half.
Oh my God, fun times, man.
The next morning was not fun.
No, I can't imagine.
Because in around an hour and 20 minutes, we were through all 3 bottles.
Damn.
Well, I'm gonna not to get ethnically chauvinistic, man, but the Afrikaner liver is not made to handle alcohol the way an Irishman's liver is.
Yeah, I think our livers are actually immune to the effects of it up to a certain point.
The only liver that can match the Irishman and is the Russians.
Oh God, there was this scene between Chekhov and Scotty on the original series where they're both drinking their ethnically preferred drinks, and Chekhov says, "This is vodka." And Scotty says, "Where I come from, that's soda pop. This is what you need to be drinking." And he hands him a scotch.
Yeah, so, well, Scotty's Scottish. It's supposed to be Scottish, which is...
Exactly.
Well, they're both Scottish, Irish, both Celtic.
Of course, there was Chekhov's comeback with Scotch being invented by a little old lady in Leningrad.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that little stuff they put in there. Those little banters.
I do remember there was at a warehouse I used to work at. There was a couple Russian guys, and one of them boasted he could drink Everclear straight.
Oh God, I think the worst I ever did was on my 21st birthday. Me and my buddy both turned 21 roughly at the same time, so we went out to get properly messed up. And I had 4 liquid cocaines and 4 Guinnesses. And that was probably the worst I've ever gotten. I actually...
Wait, what goes into a liquid cocaine?
It's a shot of Rumble Mints and a shot of Jägermeister mixed together. So, yeah, that's pretty heavy and very, very strong flavored. So it really hits you pretty hard. So I had 4 of those and 4 Guinnesses. And then my buddy, who is now no longer with us, God rest him, but he was another huge Irishman. And we all got into his Blazer, and he just swerved. He had as much as I did. So he was swerving all over the highway, and I was in the back seat, and I was getting motion sick. And we pull up to a Denny's parking lot. I stumble out, throw up all over the cement. And this stranger, I don't know who he was, but he's like a goddamn guardian angel, walks up to me and pats me on the back and says, it's all good, better out than in. And then he walks away. Never saw his face, but I can still, hear his voice telling me that everything's going to be okay, despite the hell you are enduring.
The only time I've ever gotten smashed up to now was a couple years ago. So what happened was, if I remember correctly, some friends and I. Celestial Sentinel says the Finns can outdrink the Russians.
Well, they can definitely outski them, that's for sure.
I don't know. Okay, so what's going on?
Is that too soon? Sorry.
Yeah, what was going on was my buddies and I, we'd gone out to the Red Wind Casino. We didn't go to gamble. We had gone for the buffet because it had a really awesome buffet. Have you guys ever been to a buffet where you can get crab and lobster?
No, unfortunately, I haven't.
You got to go to one of the native casinos then for that. Okay, so what? Celestial Sentinels, he can tell a story if we like. We're gonna have to put a pin in. Maybe we should do it with. Maybe I should do like what Nerd Rage does and put like an open call. But yeah, okay. So
I'm fine with that. It's Christmas. Why not?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna put this in the chat. But yeah, the story goes. Okay, so the story goes. After we get done at the casino, we head back to my buddy's apartment, and we're just knocking back everything we got. Like, I think we were knocking back rum, whiskey, Jello shots, and I think vodka. We're getting pretty wasted. So that night, amazingly, I managed to wake up the next morning without a hangover.
Jeez.
So I text my another buddy of mine, and he says, "Oh, dude, Irish flippers must be black holes." Although one thing, I think we also kind of capped off all that drinking with some pizza, so that's probably why I wasn't. Because and if I remember correctly, it was Little Caesar's pepperoni pizza. So this was it wasn't not only bread there, it was also sufficiently greasy.
Yeah.
So, something to absorb all the alcohol.
Jesus.
Yeah. If you want to, if you want to get wasted and not wake up hungover, you better chase it down with Little Caesar's pepperoni pizza, guys.
Or you could also go for Red Barons, where it's mostly bread anyway.
Oh God.
It's not so much the bread; it's more the grease that helps, because it helps with your stomach line with the fat and all the oil.
Okay, then get out.
No, it's a little known thing that one of the things that we used to do is after getting sufficiently drunk, the next morning after eating a greasy bacon and eggs breakfast and drinking a lot of water, you're fine. Ish.
I mean,
doesn't help the headache.
No, it doesn't. That's the water.
It's mostly due to dehydration.
Yep.
I'm gonna feel like Matt's the only one in the group who doesn't have a drunk story.
Well, what is the weirdest drink you've ever had?
Weirdest drink.
Like, have you ever had one of those pine flavored liquors that tastes like you're literally drinking a pine cone?
I made a cocktail called a Blue Bomber. Does that count?
Well, I can't remember the brand. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Shooter that I honestly cannot remember the contents of, but this was bad. It was called A Witch's Womb.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Define
I
bad.
know. Well, let's see. It had straw rum in it, and it had some sort of white liquor in there. And I'm pretty certain, if I remember correctly, there may have been Sambuca in there as well. Plus that's 3. So there's 4 other shooters that were in there as well.
Sounds lovely and like overkill.
It was pretty bad.
I do not imagine that you woke up the next morning, your head felt like you had a railroad spike in it.
That was on fire.
No, I actually did not feel that the next morning. What happened was I went to the toilet pretty much soon afterwards.
Went straight through you, huh?
Yeah, no, came straight back out.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That's how bad that was.
Yeah, that was more or less how I felt about that pine-flavored liquor. I can't remember the brand of it, but one of my friends remarked that it tasted like blowing a wood elf.
Okay.
That is wow. Okay, but yeah, what my thing, like with the Blue Bomber, what I made it with was blue raspberry flavored vodka, blue curacao, blue Gatorade, and half of a Monster. No, it wasn't a Monster. It was a Red Bull.
It's a lot of blue in there.
Well, it was supposed. Well, if you can't tell by the name, it's supposed to be a Mega Man inspired drink.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah,
So how did that one go over?
I'm gonna say if you hate the sickly sweet stuff, you're gonna hate this.
Sounds like a really sweet drink.
Yeah, well, like I said, I was using like a spoonful of blue Gatorade, right? So yeah, it was. I think made it really sweet.
Well, have you ever had I hope that the answer to this is in the positive. Have you ever had a Irish car bomb?
I want to.
Oh man, that's a shame. There was a bartender that did them so well. This little place called O'Shea's by me. That's why I named the pub called O'Shea's in Adobe to commemorate that. But yeah, you basically, for those who don't know, you just take a cup of Guinness and a little shot of vodka or some other heavy liquor, dunk it in the cup, like let it drop in the cup, and then you immediately chug both of them at once. And it's quite amazing.
We got something similar here called a Green Mamba. We take our local lager called Castle, or the Castle Draft, and a shot of peppermint liqueur, and you drop that in there.
Oh, nice. So, yeah, it's a similar idea, sounds like.
Oh, guys, I have to show this thing that Ginger just put on Twitter.
Oh boy.
I'm gonna say this thing. Tank knows what it is. Tank already knows what it is. I'm gonna have to.
I saw it too.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that this counts as fan art. You guys are gonna shit. I gotta stop clicking on.
Well,
that.
for everybody else.
Yep.
Yeah. Look, it's Pinkie Pie and she's got a sack of toys. Anyone notice?
Yeah?
Yeah, I definitely notice.
It's adorable.
And this is why your timeline is infected with ponies.
That is a cuteness explosion.
Who cares about the ponies? Pinkie Pie is a sack of toys of all our characters.
I think he's immune to cute.
I'm partially immune to cute.
Depends on the brand of cute, I guess.
Yep.
And that's it. You know, cut. I don't want not to sound like not to sound like I'm turning into a brony or anything. But I don't know. That My Little Pony Friendship is Magic is a show that is better than it has any right being. Because like, they did not have to make it that. They did not have to make the show that good. They didn't. They just had to make it sickly cute, and it still would have sold.
Well, yeah, that's what the original IP was. It was just sickeningly cute and made to sell ponies, but they actually put a little bit of effort into this show.
They put a lot of effort into this show. There's actual world building. There's actual character development. There's actual conflict.
Yeah, my daughter's all about it. It's her favorite thing to watch and read. I still take her down to the comic shop and buy her a book every now and then. And I actually am fine with her being into it because, like you said, it's above and beyond other shows that are currently being released, especially all this CalArts bullshit.
Oh yeah.
No, I think that's just the whole point. I mean, the people are looking at the show. It's like, oh, this is cute. Nobody will be interested in that, and they ignore it more than other people do, which is why it hasn't been infected with all the crap yet.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll just wait.
Well, I think I don't know. I hate to say it, but I think the bronies ended up becoming a bulwark unwittingly, just because they would. Well, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was a time back online. It was between I think 2011 and 2013, where the My Little Pony fandom was arguably at its most annoying. Let's just say the bronies could not shut up about it.
Yeah, I remember. They
were extremely obnoxious about it.
And there was a disturbing subset of the brony fandom that, well, obviously overly sexualized the ponies. That's to be expected.
But no, it's just it was the general behavior. It was a behavior they had in general. Like, you could not get on a thread on 4chan without seeing pony shit getting spammed into it somewhere.
Yeah, that's true.
They were everywhere, and people just could not stand them. But they managed to cool their shit. But I think that's ended up helping My Little Pony because of what the bronies did. The SJWs probably don't want to touch it.
Probably, yeah.
It's like, oh wait, that show with all the weird male fans. No thanks. I'll just leave.
But then
you think they'd be all about that?
Yeah, ruining that for them.
Yeah.
Who wants to read something funny?
Uh-oh.
Link this for the guys in the chat as well.
Mm-hmm. No, did you just... Let's take a look. I'm gonna mute my phone on vibrate so I don't. It's annoying, but yeah. Playboy who slept with 6,000 women dies while having sex.
Okay. Sounds like he died the way he lived.
Died as he lived, yeah.
That's actually quite fucking funny.
Well, what better way is there to go, you know?
I'm surprised Hugh Hefner didn't die that way.
Well, from what I understand, the girls actually found him repulsive. But, he just had the money and the resources and the access, so there you go.
Yeah, sure enough.
Well, it's probably all about the money.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and say, yeah, it was about the money.
Definitely.
But anyway, yeah, so hopefully everybody else got something that they really liked this year, or at least a good memory from this year for Christmas.
Absolutely. Have you, Stefan?
Not so much in terms of physical gifts, but in terms of stuff that happened this year, I think that is pretty much a gift enough this year for me.
I have to say I agree. Lots of great things happened for me this year, and I honestly hope you all can say the same.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, as far as gifts go, I'm waiting on some birthday and Christmas money to arrive in the mail from my dad and stepmom. It's just I'm not a guy who needs a lot though, so I'm fine with it. Honestly, I think around when I was I haven't asked for like an actual gift since I was 14 anyway.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I mean, you're too old for toys. You probably just want like a game or something along those lines. And
I just
Stephen,
I think, by the time I turned 14, I was just asking my dad, just give me money.
let me pick my own present, or let me just feel a little independent by having some money in my pocket.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I find that a lot of people this side find that whole thing impersonal because Christmas is a big traditional thing for us. So was always about buying a gift. You would make lists, and then gifts would be chosen from that. At the end of the day, while people seem to find things like vouchers at stores and money more impersonal, I actually think that that's a better way of doing it for people, especially once they get older, because what they buy, they can't really blame it on somebody else later on that you bought me the wrong gift or anything like that. No, you did that yourself.
Yeah,
and I've seen many arguments like that.
I definitely agree. And on top of that, they actually see how much these things cost. They might get a better appreciation for the effort it takes to earn the money to buy these things.
Speaking of earning money, one Christmas when I was 12, this was like the first time in my life I'd ever seen $100, but it wasn't a Christmas present. What had happened was I basically spent that entire year saving up money that I'd made off chores and other things to buy gifts for my family that year. I don't remember what I got everyone, but I do remember that I got my brother this really awesome G.I. Joe set. I think it was like 12-inch action figures of Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, and it came with a free DVD.
Oh, that's wicked, man. Did he like it?
Yeah, he did.
Nice. So how'd you feel knowing? Was that the first time you bought a gift for someone, or?
I don't know, but I do know it was like the first time I'd ever actually held back spending my own money, and it was like the first time in my life I'd ever had $100.
Yeah, that reminds me of my very first paycheck. I still remember the exact amount. It was $170.70. This was so long ago. It's like goddamn ridiculous. But yeah, when you first see that money in that amount, that's all yours. Whether that you've earned, it's hard to forget. It's very meaningful.
Oh yeah, I don't remember what my first paycheck was, but I do remember where I got it from. It was Goodwill.
For me, it was Publix, which is our regional supermarket chain, and I was the cleanup person in the meat department. That was my first job. Glorious mess.
When I worked at Goodwill, my job was just going through stock that they were sort of taking out of rotation. Like at a certain, because like to clear space for new stuff. And part of the job was I would have to throw things out like glass, ceramics, and other things into the compactor, which was kind of fun. Clothes ended up being turned into rags.
Oh yeah. I mean, basically, in my case, I would show up like at 6 p.m. after they had already finished processing all the meat for that day, and I would have to go around behind all the other employees, cleaning their stations up and throwing everything out. And I have to clean out the refrigerator and the freezer. So I go home freezing and soaked every single night. And let me tell you, that job was an adventure. Let's put it that way. It's a hell of a first job. I recommend it.
I don't know. My dad could probably tell you stories about having to work in the slaughterhouse on a ranch.
Yeah, that's definitely a bit more hardcore, but yeah, it was definitely not a pretty job.
My dad said that the slaughterhouse smelled like death.
I wonder why.
I wonder too.
It was a ranch down in Amarillo. It's in the Panhandle in Texas. Yeah. Yeah, I think the best Christmas present I ever got. I was 10 years old, and my dad. It was the first game console I ever had. It was an original Xbox.
Oh no shit.
Yeah.
Nice. The first gen Xbox. Yeah, with the gigantic controllers.
Yeah. But yeah, I can still remember the first game I had on that. It was Star Wars Starfighter Special Edition, which it's basically an arcade flight sim, but it was fun for what it was.
Yeah, the first Xbox was actually very cool. I love the dashboard with the translucent green graphics that would rotate and stuff and make those pretty awesome matrixy sounds.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. It's just a shame that that went out of style.
Yeah, I really like that console.
Yeah, the 360 one just the 360's UI just wasn't as cool.
No, it was all just like you were on a giant phone. Everything was flat and square, and I get that's the trend, optimization for mobile and all that, but you don't have to make it look like it is if it's not. That's just my opinion. As far as my favorite Christmas gift, it would have to be, I think I was 7 years old, maybe 6, and this was, whichever it was the last year I actually believed in Santa, and it was a Monchi-Chi. Remember those little stuffed monkey dolls? And I remember saying, like, hey, I left a note under my pillow for Santa. That's what my grandmother told me to do. I don't know why it was under my pillow. I thought that was the tooth fairy, but whatever. And I said, Santa, I want a Monchi-Chi doll. And I didn't show the note to anybody else, and that was the rule. And all of a sudden, bam, here's a Monchi-Chi doll. And so, he got my message. That's so cool. And so always remember that. Don't have the doll anymore, but yeah, that was the last year I believed in Santa, so that's why it's probably my favorite.
I think I was one of those kids who never believed in Santa. Not just because I don't know why. It's just like I think it's just because my parents never made a deal out of it.
That would help. Yeah.
Yeah, they never made a thing. Yeah, they never made a thing of it. That was definitely part of it. But yeah, it's just like after, like growing up, all I knew is like when I went to bed Christmas Eve, the toys weren't there, and when I woke up, they were.
So they never played up the whole mystery and magic of it.
It's more like it was just if there was any mystery and magic in it, it was kind of all more in my head. And just because, like, I was a little kid, all I cared was, hey, it's Christmas, I get toys. I wasn't really thinking about it. Yeah. But yeah, I think after a certain point, like I probably just asked my dad, and he just said, "Well, your mom and I put the presents under the tree," and it was like, "Oh," and it's like, "That makes sense."
Yeah, it definitely does. When we told our son the truth about it, we said, now it's your turn to be Santa for your little sister. And he was thrilled. He absolutely loved that idea. And he's been helping us out every year. But yeah, this is probably the last year she'll believe in it. She's way too smart and analytical. She's going to catch on.
That's cool.
Yeah. I went all out. I mean, those footprints, I gave it every bit of effort I possibly could to make her believe in the wonder of it. So,
Matt, Tank, do you guys have anything to put in?
Not really at this point in time, no. I'm gonna give Matt the floor because he's keeping very quiet.
Yeah, Matt, what was your favorite present if you have one?
Well, I'd probably say that I don't really think I got much of a favorite present, but I do remember that the first time I ever got interested in Transformers was when I think I was 4 years old, and my uncle got me a Transformer for Christmas. And I remember very distinctly that was a Decepticon headmaster named Mindwipe.
Oh, the headmasters. Those are the ones that would literally transform into heads.
Yep, and then, well, once you had the smaller guys who could transform into heads, and then you got the bodies which could transform into cars, vehicles, animals, and so on.
Oh man, that's cool. I'm totally with you on the Transformers. Those are probably my favorite toys because those are the first toys I actually bought with my own money. Like my brother and I actually walked all the way to the corner store, which is still there. It's in Pittsburgh. It's in the little neighborhood called Squirrel Hill, and the store's still open. And he bought a Ravage, and I bought a Rumble, the little cassette Transformers. Those are the only ones we could afford because they were like, I think, $3 or $4 each. And he got the Ravage one, and his was way cooler. I was so jealous. The Ravage just kicked Rumble's ass. But I made my choice, and I had to live with it.
Yeah, well, nowadays it seems like the designs for the shows and movies aren't exactly there to sell the toys.
Yeah, I mean, based on what I saw from Bumblebee, they're trying to get back to the more traditional designs. But I had no idea what the hell was going on in all those Michael Bay movies. I couldn't even focus on any given point because their bodies were so nondescript and indistinct. They were just jumbled messes of metal.
Yeah, it's more like someone talks. Someone talks who knows who it was. They're all the same.
I want to know what the thought process behind those designs were. It's like, dude, it's like, I mean, as bad as the Autobots look, the Decepticons looked even worse. At least the Autobots look distinct from one another.
Yeah, at least Optimus Prime looked like Optimus Prime.
Yeah, and Bumblebee was yellow at least. But other than that, yeah.
At the end of the day, the Transformers live-action movies weren't meant to be about the Transformers. That's the thing that I think a lot of people miss. That is why they put in so many human actors in there. And that's why they got eye candy actresses. And for the most part, the stories were shit. The only thing I really liked about the first Transformers was that opening scene where that military airbase got wrecked.
Yeah.
That is pretty much the thing that I think would nail if they could get that done. You know, get Michael Bay to do the action scenes and somebody else to do the fucking story.
Yeah, like make it, just make him like I mean, like, do you guys know that his background was in making music videos?
Yep.
Yeah, I honestly think he is of very low intelligence. Have you ever heard him talk? I mean, anyway,
well, to be fair, he doesn't. I don't think he pretends to be an intellectual.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's fine. Oh, but to your point, Stefan, about the stories being shit. Have you guys ever watched the Red Letter Media video where they watch the first 3 Transformers movies side by side all at once?
Let me get. What do they pick up on that?
Well, the films are exactly the same, beat for beat. Like they almost tell the exact same story at the exact same time. Like, just when we get off the call, just go check it out. They watch the first 3 films side by side, and they literally say, "Wow, they all went quiet at exactly the same moment." You know, oh look, it's a raid on the military base. Okay, introduction of Bumblebee. You know, and it's literally the same movie 3 times in a row.
It looks like Bumblebee is going to be the difference from that because it's not directed by Michael Bay.
Well, also, I mean, this is me going off Blake Northcott. She said like what it's got is heart.
Yeah,
I've heard great things about it. It's like a lot of people are saying it's E.T. with Transformer, and that was a good story.
That could work.
Yeah, I mean, it could.
I don't know. But then again, if you take a look at Michael Bay's very first film that he did, that I remember watching, I don't know if he did before that, but I think the first film of him that I watched was the original Bad Boys. But I think what happened there was Jerry Bruckheimer was there to keep him on script.
Yep. Well,
Fun fact about the movie as well: the Porsche 911 that they used in the movie, the reason that didn't get wrecked or shot at or damaged, if I remember correctly, I read that that was his personal car that they used for the film.
Damn.
So they only had one.
you know,
That's
I
very
remember.
unusual.
You know, I remember back. Yeah, I remember back in 2007 when the original, the first Transformers movie came out. I had this friend who loved trying to explain how things work, but had no idea how they actually did work. Tried to explain that the color red could not be rendered properly for CGI. So they had to make Optimus Prime blue with orange flames.
Was that really why? It was a technical limitation?
Apparently so.
That's interesting.
Well, I think the red flames were the orange flames were just Michael Bay being a 12-year-old saying, "It looks cool."
Yeah, I've never really watched a DVD commentary with Michael Bay, but I'm willing to bet 9 times out of 10 his justification for a decision is it was cool.
Yep.
But yeah, on favorite gifts was probably when I got the full set back in the early 90s.
Full set of what?
Man. The action figures with the
Oh.
van, everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was a big Ninja Turtles fan back in the day.
Oh, me too, man. I love me some Ninja Turtles. Holy shit. I mean, I even like bought the Out of Our Shells tour DVD or whatever it was at the time. I had the whole CD. It's like, wow, this is such a blatant ripoff of the Beach Boys, this song, but I didn't care because it was the Turtles singing it.
Oh well. It's these wonderful little memories, but that was literally my favorite gift because everybody in school year round got toys, everything. Back then I was only getting toys around Christmas time, obviously. So when I got that as a gift, that was pretty much best memory.
That's awesome. It's like a core memory. Like my daughter still references Inside Out. Like whenever she has a really great time, she says, "That's a core memory." So that's a sweet movie. I still love Inside Out.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of movies, where do you guys fall on the whole Die Hard is a Christmas movie debate?
Definitely is.
I mean, I watch it on Christmas time, like right alongside It's a Wonderful Life, because why the hell not? Same thing with Gremlins. I mean, Gremlins, like if it takes place on Christmas, you watch it during Christmas. Sure, it's a Christmas movie. Why not?
Matt, your take?
Sure, it's a Christmas movie as long as they allow for other movies that take place around Christmas time to be Christmas movies.
Such as
Gremlins.
Oh, Gremlins. That's absolutely a Christmas movie. I mean, they have clips of It's a Wonderful Life, and they reference it in the film. I mean, you can't get much more Christmassy than that.
True. Although a buddy of mine said, like, although my buddy of mine and I kind of sort of said, like, Die Hard is a Christmas movie the same way Fairy Tale of New York is a Christmas song.
You know what's really funny about that is I popped on a Spotify playlist of Christmas classics to unwrap our presents to this morning. And mixed in with the Bing Crosbys and the Frank Sinatras and the Eartha Kitts was Fairy Tale of New York. It just showed up. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And my wife had actually never heard the song. So I just said, okay, just sit back and listen to it.
To be honest, though, I've never had a song that could make me both laugh and cry quite like Fairy Tale of New York.
Yeah, the first time I heard it, like years and years ago, I mean, the fact that Called him a cheap, lousy faggot. I almost choked on the drink I was drinking at the time because it just came out of nowhere.
True. I mean, but it's just like when you realize when you actually realize what the story behind that song is about. Not behind in that song is about. It's just like it's tragic.
It's very tragic.
You do just realize if the channel gets a strike now, it's Dan's own fault.
Yeah. I did it to myself.
The song is about a guy who ends up in the drunk tank on Christmas, and he's just reminiscing about how about a relationship he had that just went really bad.
Okay, let's be honest. What kind of Grinch would flag a Christmas stream?
Well, my Patreon just got shut down, so shit. I'm joking. It actually is still pretty okay.
Yeah, so yeah, but yeah, it's just it started out and there was so much promise and they had so much promise ahead of them and then it just went bad.
Yeah. I think it took them 2 years to write that song because it had like they wanted to get it just right to tell the story and have it emotionally shift in an appropriate way. And it definitely does do that. Yeah, it's all about dreams that are crushed because reality hits you hard, and they're so.
It's about like not just that just like I said, just relationships going bad and ending really badly.
Yeah, and that's something we can all relate to. Lord knows I've had plenty of those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, me too. Like, and it's not, and I'm just talking like romantic relationships. Like I've had friendships that ended really ugly.
Oh yeah, sometimes as a result of like one is as a result of the other. Such as like let's say you break up with someone and your old friend suddenly starts buying all the BS that your ex is saying about you, and then you lose your friendship with that person. That sucks.
It does.
Yeah, it's painful. But yeah, let's let's not get too bogged down in that. It's a happy time. We've had a great year, right, guys?
Yep.
I was gonna say, why did they make another Grinch movie?
Because people know what the Grinch is, and people will pay to see something they recognize. I don't know. I mean,
here's something I'm just gonna say. Like I saw the trailer for the new one, and it's like they actually show him going into Whoville like it's normal for him.
Right, that was some
Who's. Why would he ever go there?
Yeah, that was something I didn't get. I mean, he was supposed to be this crotchety old hermit that just got really annoyed once a year when they start singing all this obnoxious Christmas music, and he's finally had enough. But yeah, he was definitely not a citizen of Whoville.
It's just like that's the thing. Like the trailer shows him like going into Whoville, and he's even looks like he's grocery shopping. Why would he do that?
I don't know, because they have to make a 2-hour movie out of a 15-minute cartoon. I don't know.
Well, a 15-minute cartoon that was a well, I think it's more like a 20-minute cartoon that was adapted from a children's book.
Yeah.
It's like I'm pretty sure it's like, but it adds depth.
We don't need the Grinch to have depth. The only thing you need to know about the Grinch is that he was a crotchety old hermit, and then he saw that Christmas was about, the spirit of the thing and not about the commercialism. That's the whole story.
Yeah.
So then his heart grows. Yay. And he gets into the spirit. That's the Grinch.
Yeah.
What do you need? That is his arc. That's his arc. That's his development.
That's all you need.
Exactly.
It's like
they want to add on, tack on more stuff just so they can have a big payday off of very little work.
Well,
right.
It's not just that's like they got to make it a feature-length movie. Like Dan said, they got to make it a feature-length movie. How bad is everyone expecting that movie to be, Ginger? Let's see. How bad it... Let's see. It currently has a 3-star rating on IMDb. 6 out of 10. 57 on Rotten Tomatoes. So
She's dead.
not doing horrible, not doing great though.
Nope.
Well, I was pleased to see that Nutcracker reimagining didn't do well. I mean, some things just leave them alone already, for fuck's sake.
Dude, I didn't even know that movie was a thing until I saw a display for it when I was shopping at Walmart one day.
I didn't know about it until now.
Yeah, you don't need to reimagine every childhood IP as an action movie. I mean, look at Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland. Why did that have a battle at the end? For fuck's sake, a battle?
Why did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory need to exist? I mean, the Charlie in that movie was just so boring.
Well, because Hollywood these days can't do characterization properly.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Oh, definitely. You know, it kind of makes me appreciate all those old Christmas specials though, like the Charlie Brown Christmas. Like, it does so much with so little.
And you know, even back then, you know how hard he had to fight to get that scene where Linus explains the true meaning of Christmas by quoting scripture.
God damn,
like,
really?
Yeah, I mean, they initially didn't want him to include that, but he said, "Look, we're either including that or that's that." You know. Yeah, they actually were trying to avoid having that actually air on TV.
And that wouldn't even get past development now.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Not at all. But it just goes to show you, like, even back in the 60s, they were, you know, people were concerned about the over commercialization of Christmas to the point where people were questioning whether or not they even enjoyed the holiday anymore. And the one thing that I really appreciate about it, I mean, I'm not a practicing Christian or anything, but it's the sense of peace and happiness and, you know, connection with tradition that you have. And I think the reason Christmas, you know, connects with so many people so strongly is what it actually represents. It's like God saying, hey, here's a way out of all the evil in the world. Here's a way to, you know, to save yourselves. And it's a great gift, whether you believe in it or not. It's a very powerful message, you know?
True. I mean, like, they're celebrating like out in Syria.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very powerful message, you know? It's not like compare it to Hanukkah, which is actually a very minor celebration compared to the other holidays in the Jewish calendar. But it's like, you know, the miracle of Hanukkah just doesn't really compare to me personally to the message of what Christmas is actually about.
You can't really, I think it's just kind of like you can't really get anything out of Hanukkah unless you're Jewish anyway.
Yeah, I mean, but even if you are Jewish, I mean, it's nothing compared to, say, Shavuos or Yom Kippur or Rosh Hashanah. I mean, it's actually a fairly minor holiday by comparison. So but I don't know. That's neither here nor there. The point is that Christmas has a very powerful message, and that's why it resonates even when it's diluted so much by all of this all this other stuff. And that's the whole point of the Charlie Brown Christmas special, among other things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like, I also sat back today and watched the Garfield Christmas special. I mean, like, that was when it's like I'm thinking back to like a lot of Christmas movies I watched growing up, and like a couple of them are corny, but you know what? At least you can't. But pretty much all of them have got heart, at least. Yeah. Although I am gonna hate my dad for this because my dad kept playing. My dad likes Elf. I hate Elf.
I'm sorry, who?
Elf.
Yeah, my Elf.
Oh, Elf. Oh God, yes, Elf.
My dad loves Elf. I hate Elf. I do not get what my dad likes it.
Yeah, I looking back, I mean, I don't understand either. Although I do appreciate it for the fact that it inadvertently had the darkest ending of any sitcom in history because they never aired the final episode. You just see Elf getting surrounded by government agents.
Not Alf. Elf. The Will Ferrell movie.
Elf.
Oh, I thought you said Elf. I was like, that's why I asked you to repeat yourself. Like Elf, the alien.
Yeah, it
No,
sounded like
alright.
Elf to me too.
The Will Ferrell movie. The Will Ferrell movie,
All right.
Dan.
Okay, yeah, all right. Blame my old man ears, but yeah, I'm with you there. That one's kind of silly.
It's like I'm trying to. I mean, people seem to like Will Ferrell, but it's like, look at this. It is really easy for Will Ferrell to be obnoxious.
I don't like him. Honestly, I avoid his movies like the plague.
I am absolutely avoiding Holmes and Watson. Awful looking movie.
The last thing we need is another deconstruction of Sherlock Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
This time, Watson has a status for old women, apparently.
Gee, I wonder if they're going to do a gay panic scene. I wonder.
Please stop speculating.
I feel like killing myself now.
Erase these images immediately.
Well, I'm with you with Will Ferrell 99.9% of the time. He holds one special part in my heart because he stars in one of my daughter's favorite films, the Lego Movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I can tolerate him for that reason because she was in love with that whole universe for years. Still is.
As long as I don't have to see him on screen.
Well,
Yeah,
you can only do it for like one scene.
Yeah, very briefly at the end, but for the most part, he's just doing a voice.
Actually, even on screen, he's very restrained. He only does his Will Ferrell shtick when he's President Business.
Yes,
And it works just because President Business is such an over-the-top villain.
and that's what's so effective about Lego comedy is that it's preposterous and ridiculous, but as far as the characters are concerned, they're completely serious. They don't realize how ridiculous they are.
Yeah.
And so it's played straight within the humor, and that's why it works so well, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, like when he's just like an elf when he's like, "You congratulations, you made the best cup of coffee in the world," or he's just running around through a turnstile yelling, "Ah!" Or then he goes like, "Santa!" I know. It's just like,
Yeah. I mean, okay,
stop. I want to, don't make, please stop. I will kill you.
I think that whole movie fell prey to this should have been like a 15-minute SNL skit thing at best, not a feature film.
Oh, why do people like that movie?
I have no answer.
Dead silence.
One movie that I got sick of watching, and it's not its fault. It's just that it kept getting played in my house every Christmas, so it was just fatigue was just bound to set in at some point. It was A Christmas Story.
No, that's completely fine. You can be sick of it because it's played overplayed.
Yeah, it definitely is one of those films that you can't escape from. Just like It's a Wonderful Life, but It's a Wonderful Life is heartbreakingly sweet, at least. Yeah. So yeah. I actually give that film a pass. I mean, the first time I saw that film, I damn near cried. It was so tragic.
Yeah. Yeah,
interesting thing when it comes down to Christmas things this side, we don't actually have films that get showed. What normally gets shoved onto our TV screens, thank goodness we don't pay for pay TV anymore, is the overuse of the Queen's Christmas musical special. Yeah, they import shit all the way from the UK.
Well, you guys are still part of the Commonwealth, aren't you?
Yeah, but that's just the funny thing. We have guys actively in government looking to get rid of the Commonwealth. Oh, and not for the proper reasons you think.
There is that, yeah.
But yeah, it's the whole funny thing of there's no movies, but everything is musical specials and things like that. When we do get movies, they're usually locally produced and they're a little bit more on the funny comedy side. but it's not something that you would definitely rewatch as a tradition each year.
Yeah, and that's the thing, I guess. I mean, as long as you like limit it to once a particular time of the year, then I guess it's hard to overplay them. Like I only really watch It's a Wonderful Life this time of year, so it's kind of like a special treat.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, like for me in my house, like I said, it was a Christmas story, or how the Grinch stole Christmas, and for a good long while, Elf. There was one year where we watched It's a Wonderful Life, and that was really good. That was a really good movie. Dan's completely right on that. I think there was also the one year my dad decided he did not want to make Christmas dinner because he did not want to make a turkey dinner 2 months in a row. So he decided, let's just get Chinese. And I asked for pork lo mein noodles, which to hear Matt tell it was my mistake because I got really bad food poisoning.
That sucks.
Oh man,
Yep.
yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, but
Yeah.
it's either you cook or you eat Chinese, and if you're lucky, bagels, because everything else is closed.
Oh, yeah. You know, I've thought of an idea that would make Elf a better movie.
What?
It ends with Elf being surrounded by federal agents, and then cuts to black.
You know what? Yeah, that actually would. It's like, there you are, you bastard. You sick pedophile. Anyway.
Actually, what was I thinking of? There was this British CGI movie that I wanted to see called Arthur Christmas that I heard was really good.
Haven't heard of that one.
Yeah.
Like it's sort of I've heard like it kind of has that. It's sort of like a modern Christmas classic. It has it's sort of got that sort of British humor to it, where the jokes are really fast paced and come at you, and just come at and just kind of like it's very punchy.
Yeah, very talky, very dry, and very quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like if you really don't understand British humor, it's like it. I mean, you might still like it, but it's like you won't appreciate it the way it's intended to be.
I'll have to check that out. I've never actually heard of it.
Yeah.
Here's another one that's not technically a Christmas movie, but it's appropriate for the season. Has anyone seen Rise of the Guardians?
I heard about it.
Okay, basically it's a story about Jack Frost, but Santa Claus is in it, and he's this big badass Russian strong like bull character, and the whole thing is about each of the Guardians finding their core, which gives them their power. For Santa, his core is wonder, and for Jack, it turns out his core is fun. Like he's there to bring snow and frost for kids to play in and all that. It's actually a very cool film, and I love watching it with my kids every year.
Oh, that sounds really cool. I heard good things about it. Here's one film I don't get what the hype was about it. It was The Polar Express.
That movie is eerie as hell. I don't know. There was this era where they were trying to like push the limits and blur the lines of reality between CG and live action, and it was a big mistake. Like they did it with Beowulf, they did it with The Polar Express, and those films just are unsettling to watch, at least for me. I mean, just seeing these characters that are almost but just not quite real, it's like something I would have a nightmare about. Yeah, the Uncanny Valley effect, yes.
Oh, boy.
Like, I don't know if you've ever seen Beowulf, the CG movie, but that was some spooky ass shit going on there. Even though Angelina Jolie was in it and she was hot as hell, I mean, just the way that the actors, their eyes looked and their mouths looked and how they moved, it was just, yeah, dial it back, guys. It doesn't have to be this real.
Like, it's one of those things where, like, even though it looks hyper realistic, there's that part of your reptile brain that tells you something is off.
Very, very much so. Especially Crispin Glover is creepy as hell, and I don't need to see him mutated into Grendel. I mean, just put him on screen,
It's the uncanny valley effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, it's also why I predict those sex robots are not going to be hot sellers.
Oh
Yeah,
no, trust me. No, they're gonna be hot sellers, all right. Especially with the wave of incels that we are apparently getting now.
Yeah, well, I'll be impressed if your average incel can afford one. I guarantee they're not cheap.
No, probably not. But yeah, the Polar Express, I didn't quite get, aside from the aesthetics of the thing, I mean, it wasn't a particularly compelling story. It was basically sold entirely on its visuals, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, and again, it's like one of those things where, like, they're trying to add depth to something that didn't have a lot to begin with, but didn't need it either.
Yeah, and that's the whole problem when you try to take a simple story and stretch it out into a feature-length film like they did with Where the Wild Things Are. I mean, how could you possibly make that into a feature-length film? I mean, there's almost nothing happens in the book. He goes off because he doesn't want to eat his dinner, and he frolics, and then he leaves, and then he eats his dinner. That's the whole story.
Well, there's a little bit. There's a little bit more to the book than the story than that. It's just like it's also the kid learning that he has to be patient, has self-control, and listen to his mom.
Right. Yeah. But it's in terms of, like, what actually happens. I mean,
True.
he imagines that he sails across the ocean, he meets monsters, they frolic, and then he says, "You know what? I'll go home now." That's kind of what happens.
Pretty much.
I mean, don't get me wrong. That was one of my favorite books growing up. The illustrations were so beautiful and really sparked my imagination quite a bit.
Yeah,
Loved it. But,
It was just one of those books that couldn't be translated to a film without major liberties taken to the story.
Right. And the story's beauty was its simplicity, kind of like, with the Polar Express, you don't want to...
Yeah, like I said, it doesn't have a lot of depth, but it doesn't need it.
Exactly. It's not that kind of a story. The characters don't need arcs, it's not necessary. You don't need a conflict. You're just like, this cool thing happened, That's all. That's the whole story.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, it's just kind of a fit. Yeah, at the most, like, if you were gonna adapt something like the Polar Express, the most you could get out of it is a short film.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, like, that thing wouldn't sell, but at least it would be more true to the spirit of the book.
Yep.
Yeah, and maybe you just don't make a movie or adapt a story. Maybe just let it be what it is. And, if you want to make a movie, write your own story.
Oh, they can't.
Yeah.
They just need something to ruin.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, hey, I know what that is. I know the Polar Express. I like that book. Let's see what this movie... Oh, okay.
Yep.
But at that point, they've already got your money, so they win.
Yeah. Although, if any good came out of that, it's probably that it probably helps spike the book's sales again. So,
I honestly hope so. Yeah.
I mean, it is a really good children's book.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why it was optioned for a film, because people loved it.
That is true. Yeah. Trying to. I'm kind of more impressed. I mean, like when you take like stuff like the Garfield Christmas special or the Peanuts or the Charlie Brown Christmas. It's just I mean, essentially, like the Garfield Christmas special is just John taking Garfield and Odie to his parents' house. else, and it's just like that, and just them spending Christmas together, and that's all there is. And occasionally Garfield gets a good sarcastic line in.
Well, yeah, because he's Garfield. But like you said, the emotional core of the story is very simple, and that's why it works. Like in the Charlie Brown Christmas special, I mean, the whole thing is Charlie Brown is disillusioned, and then he gets asked to direct a Christmas play, and then he can't get a good tree for the play, and then he's all depressed, and then Linus says, "Don't worry, because this is what it's actually all about." And bam, there's the story. And everyone fixes up the tree and sings, and Charlie Brown feels happy. The end. It's great, you know. It's so simple.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, there's, yeah. Actually, there's one Christmas movie I wanted to say that it's called Joyeux Noel.
I'm not familiar with that one.
This one is about. Are you familiar with the Christmas truce?
Oh, do you mean World War I?
Yep. That's
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that was basically like a bunch of soldiers just decided to stop fighting.
Yeah, it was like I think it's like some French and German soldiers, and they decide, look, it's Christmas. Why don't we just have a ceasefire for this day?
That's right, and it was decided organically by the troops themselves, and they got up and played soccer or football with each other and exchanged cigarettes and coffee or whatever, and they went back to their trenches. Yeah.
And a lot of them were not happy because then they realized, like, oh my God, when this is over, we're gonna have to go back to fighting each other.
Yeah, it's really important to destroy any empathy that you have for your foe in order to be able to kill them, if you're at all a healthy human being. And that's what they try to do, with propaganda, to make you dehumanize and unperson your opponent so that you're actually able to kill them. Because if you have to see someone look at you and you understand, hey, he's not that different from me. We both celebrate Christmas. We both have similar histories. We both like coffee. We both like soccer. Why are we fighting each other? You got to destroy that empathy.
Yeah. I mean, just for that alone, kind of makes you want to watch it. Just because you can tell that it's worse. New York says it's worse. The soldiers were ordered to return to their trenches by the commanders.
Right.
Yeah.
And as much as I love, I don't know if you were familiar with the Royal Guardsmen, which was a little novelty group that put together a Snoopy and the Red Baron album back in the 60s. They tell the story of Snoopy and the Red Baron, and it climaxes with Snoopy's Christmas, where the Red Baron is about to shoot Snoopy down. Then at the last minute, he says, "Hey, let's just land and have a Christmas toast, and we'll fight later." And it was kind of a play. It was kind of a play on the Christmas truce. But in the introduction to that song, they have this little skit where they say, like, the leaders are negotiating the Christmas truce, and I'm like, no, they weren't even involved. It was a spontaneous thing that the troops decided on, and were actually ordered to cease and desist. So that's my one beef with that whole beautiful album. Otherwise, it was wonderful. I highly recommend it.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like they say, wars are started by the old to be fought by the young.
In this case, politicians.
Isn't it amazing, though, that now that we have nukes and the politicians are in danger from war, it's like all of a sudden, hey, let's not fight anymore.
Well, when they coined the term mutually assured destruction, they weren't kidding.
Yes.
Yep.
It's a strange game. The only winning move is not to play, so saith the war games. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember there was back when I was watching Supernatural, they had a Christmas episode where people, it started out with a series of murders, and Sam and Dean put it together that all the victims, what they had in common was that they bought these wreaths from this one couple. and it turned out that they were like that this old couple, they were old pagan gods. And they
Really?
kind of did not like that they were not getting their proper dues for, well, what used to be Yule. Well, because Christianity rolled in and crushed all the pagans. Yeah, and so they had to kill them. So they had to kill them using I think it was an evergreen stake.
An evergreen stake. That's fantastic.
Yep. And it was, that was actually it was like back when Supernatural was still pretty good. And I think that episode ended with Sam and Dean exchanging gifts with each other and just whatever they could get.
Mm.
And it's, when for them it was like, I think what Sam gave Dean a quart of oil and some jerky, and Dean gave Sam a skin mag.
It's a thought that counts, right?
Well, yeah.
My God, skin mags. How long has it been since we've had to resort to skin mags?
I don't think. I saw one on one my roommate left lying around.
It just seems like so quaint, I mean, it's like you can't search them. You can't, you can't like swipe them with your finger. I don't know.
Nope.
God, like good old days, we had to swipe magazines to get anything done. Or hope your dad left them in an obvious place or whatever.
Yeah. Actually, no, that was not a thing in my house because Dad's a pastor.
Right, and obviously not in your case, but you had to get really crafty. You had to either have a really good imagination or go to where you saw a picture in like a shop window and just memorize it or something. Not speaking from experience, I'm just spitballing here.
So he's
exactly. Yeah, exactly. I absolutely did not have this motorcycle ad at this pizza place that had some chick in a bikini that I would walk 2 miles to go see. No, I'm just kidding.
Not at all.
No.
Might be better than watching a bunch of ecchi anime full of anime titties.
Or trying to see through the scrambling of the Playboy channel on your cable box.
Holy shit! Playboy actually had a cable channel at one point.
They did.
Yeah, they did.
And it was goddamn terrible.
That is sad.
Yeah, that was when porn was, well, generally it is, because it exists for one purpose alone, obviously. But back then it was exceptionally stupid, like more so than usual.
Yeah, let's bring it back before it turns into one of those streams.
Funny.
Oh boy, Bjorn, why did you do that? Don't look at guys. Do not look at the chat if you do not want some really horrific mental images.
That's okay. I'm not even looking at it.
The benefits of having a connection that can't handle the stream and the actual chat pod as well.
Okay, so Christmas.
Yes.
Let's run this train
again.
Yes.
So let's talk food.
Yes.
I like it. My brain was about to go to A Christmas Carol. I like how I like the Muppet one.
Well, I like to talk about food more because food's delicious. You can actually eat that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like, okay, I guess all I can say is like out in the States, like your typical Christmas dinner is not that different from Thanksgiving. You got turkey, you got potatoes, you got stuffing, you got cranberry sauce, you got
Pumpkin pie with whipped cream.
yeah. It's like it's basically all the stuff you had for Thanksgiving. Although some people might swap they might swap the turkey for ham, or if they're feeling really fancy, they'll swap it for duck.
Or you get the people that just go completely crazy and they'll get it to ducken. That's a turkey stuffed with a duck, stuffed with a chicken.
I've actually seen that. It's ingenious, and I want to learn more. Do you have a newsletter I can subscribe to?
Yeah.
We actually, one supermarket chain actually sell them pre-made. You just have to go cook it at home.
Yeah. Or you'd be like my dad one year and decide I don't want to cook, I'll just get Chinese.
That is a glorious Christmas miracle, and I won't lie. I would absolutely love one of those.
What we do is we pre-cook most of our food. So because it's summer this side, we pre-cook everything. So it's usually leg of lamb, pickle tongue, gammon, everything. So we pre-cook it, stick it in and carve it all up, put it in the fridge about the 2 to 3 days before. And then on Christmas Day, we just get the salads and everything together, and we eat because it's hot and you don't want to sit around and waste time making food in 30 degrees Celsius weather with 70%, 80% humidity.
That's right. Where you are, it's the opposite season, isn't it?
Yeah, Southern Hemisphere.
Same for my buddies down in New Zealand.
Although he's closer to the Arctic Circle there, so definitely going to be a little bit colder there.
Depends. Depends on whether I think Sam and Dinte are like on the southern island.
Yeah, if it's the southern island, it's definitely closer to Antarctica.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's for the most part. So that's how we do it. And then for dessert, depends on what we made that year. It's usually, this year it was cake and ice cream. Normally it's a trifle or a more traditional thing like milk tart or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the way I can describe milk tart is it is made with condensed milk, normal milk, and something to get it all to just bind together a little bit. And then once it's cooked, you take it out and you cover it with cinnamon sugar and caramelize that, and then you eat that.
Oh man, that sounds delicious.
Sounds delightfully decadent. Just the right kind of dessert.
Or it would be, then if you still have your grandmother around, then you get all the traditional things as well, like these little tartlets filled with apricot jam and covered with coconut thing. We call them Herzog tarts or koeksisters. Now, the best way I can describe this, think little twists of dough that are deep fried, and then the moment they are taken out of the fryer, they are stuck directly into ice cold syrup.
Wow. That sounds like it's got 3 layers of sweet going on there.
No, the dough is not sweetened at all.
Oh, I thought that it was. My bad.
No, it's a straight unsweetened dough that gets tied into little knots and then deep fried and then taken directly from the warm fried oil into this thick syrup that is made with 2 cups of sugar per cup of water. And we also add in a little bit of a preservative to prevent it from freezing up entirely. It's not actually a preservative, but it's also something to break the sweet a little bit because it's going to be a very thick syrup. And then obviously when it comes out, these things are sticky, sweet, and very damn delicious.
Here's something I want to try my hand at making. It's called a Dutch baby.
And what is a Dutch baby? Explain.
Yeah. It's a large, fluffy pancake, which you can make actually very easily. So what you need is like 3 eggs, half a cup of flour, half a cup of milk, a tablespoon of sugar, pinch of nutmeg, 4 tablespoons of butter, syrup, preserves, and confectioner sugar or cinnamon sugar. And you gotta preheat your oven to 425 degrees. You combine the eggs, flour, milk, sugar, and nutmeg in a blender and blend until it's smooth. You then place the butter in a heavy 10-inch skillet. And as soon as the butter's melted, you add the batter to the pan. And then you return the pan to the oven and bake for 20 minutes until the pancake is puffed and golden. Then, then you lower the oven temperature to 300 degrees and then bake for 5 minutes longer. You take the pancake out of the oven, cut it into wedges, and serve once it's topped with syrup, preserves, and confectioner sugar.
That sounds like it's right up there with like that sinful carnival food, like an elephant ear, like that stuff that I just can't get enough of. But thankfully, it's not always available.
Yeah, this is something you can. Yeah, this might not be a Christmas dish, but it's something I saw in a Christmas episode of Bob's Burgers back when I watched it. I think what was going on in that episode was that the Belchers were trying to find a Christmas tree. And they had to go like a really, really far out of town to find one, and then they stopped at a diner and they were serving Dutch babies, and Linda wanted one.
So that's where you learned of the Dutch babies.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they honestly though, it doesn't sound like it has anything on Tank's thing from South Africa. It just sounds really delicious.
It's got a cooler name too.
Yeah, it does.
Could just be the Afrikaans.
More likely.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever said this to you? Has anyone ever told?
Say what?
What'd you say?
Sorry. No, just pronounce the name in Afrikaans. A melktert.
Okay, there you go.
What did you want to say, Dan?
Has anyone ever asked you if you were an African or an Africant?
We actually joke about that quite a lot.
Okay, cool.
I'm pretty sure. Okay, now here's something I'm looking up just because I wanted to know what it looks like. I looked up what it goes into a traditional Irish Christmas dinner. I think I found on an article for it. It's like gotta have roast turkey and stuffing, a clove-studded baked ham, crispy goose fat potatoes, steamed Brussels sprouts, buttery sweet carrots, crispy parsnips, cranberry sauce, bread sauce, gravy. Wow.
It sounds remarkably close to what we eat here in America. Although I tend to omit the Brussels sprouts and the ham, but everything else.
Yeah. No, you'd think it'd be more Anglo. Because be honest, I mean, let's be honest, I mean, America seems to have much more of an Anglo heritage than it does Celtic.
Well, a lot of the Irish immigrants, probably had to assimilate into the Anglo. A lot of the immigrants that came over in the early 20th century didn't have the benefit of a welfare state to land on, so they either assimilated or they went home.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. But even though it was kind of, even though when you're Irish, it's kind of a prerequisite to hate the Anglos.
Yeah. Yeah, my buddy in high school was hardcore into it. Like on his 17th birthday, he actually asked me to airbrush him an IRA jacket. I was
Oh
like,
my!
are you serious? He said, yeah, I want to walk in on St. Patrick's Day wearing an IRA jacket. I'm like, you're
Oh my-
insane.
I was about to say though, to hear Tank tell it, the feeling's mutual with Afrikaan honors.
Well, there was that
given
little
that,
thing called the Anglo-Boer War and the concentration camps for women and children. I mean, no biggie.
oh, was that all?
Yeah, nothing serious. I mean, it's not nothing that would engender generations of hatred. You know.
And here I thought,
No,
and here
no,
I
not
thought
at
there
all.
was actually a problem. You guys need to get over that shit, man.
Yeah.
Freaking ladies.
Yeah, about the and then I'm pretty sure the Oz. I'm concerned the Aussies started out as like Australia started out as a prison colony. I'm pretty sure the Aussies aren't fond of the Anglos either. About the which kind of pairs it down to Canadians and Kiwis.
And the Kiwis hate the Aussies too, don't they? I don't know.
Oh, that actually to hear my Kiwi friends tell it. Yeah, Kiwis hate the Aussies and Aussies hate the Kiwis. And by the way, if you want a Kiwi to punch you out, tell him he sounds like an Australian.
Oh yeah, yeah. You
Ouch.
never tell a Kiwi he sounds like an Aussie. No.
Yeah, I was just gonna say though, it kind of pairs it down to Kiwis and Canadians who probably like England. Although I'm not too sure, but although I have to wonder with how much French is in Canada's culture, if that's still true.
My only concern there is how willing they are to raise the white flag.
Well, apparently French Canadians are a breed apart from regular Frenchies.
Yeah, from what I understand, Quebecois French, or however you pronounce it, is actually like considered very low class French. It's like Cockney English. Don't know if it's exactly analogous, but that's what I've heard a lot of French speakers say.
Yeah, that's. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I got a friend. Yeah, my best friend is Canadian. I think she can. Yeah, I think she's told me that too. Like the Quebecois, then like sort of. Yeah, they're kind of on the lower end of French society. Yeah. So
Well, and then obviously for Afrikaans as well, back when the language originally started up, the Dutch weren't too fond of us either back then. They referred to it in a derogatory term. Basically, they called it kitchen Dutch because they didn't like the fact that it was being spoken because of the mix of languages that went into it.
that's gotta be
Afrikaans itself is made up of 7 different languages.
that's gotta be weird. Just because you said like there's 2 types of Afrikaners. You got the ones with Dutch heritage and one.
Yeah, the ones with the British heritage, and it's very easy to figure them out. Basically, just go onto Twitter and look at their what they talk about.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah, just look at the ones who are suffering from white guilt.
The
Easy.
self-hating Afrikaners.
Yes, the ones who bought wholesale into everything.
Yeah, see what that's getting them now, right?
Oh yeah, no, I mean that, but I'm not gonna go there. Let's not ruin that. Let's not talk about that.
Yeah, let's not do that. Let's not do that. My bad.
That'd be a good idea.
I'll just say, with the exception of Carl O'Rowe, every Irish person I've ever interacted with online has just kind of done the internet equivalent of spitting in my face after he found out I was Irish American.
That's too bad, man. That ain't right.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, like I said, Carl's probably like was probably like the first time I interacted with another Irish person, and his first instinct was not to give me shit for it.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
What is?
The New York Times asking a hard question. How did rifles with an American stamp end up in the hands of African poachers? I don't know. Let's ask Barry Obama.
Operation Fast and Furious.
Probably.
They got him on eBay.
or the dark web equivalent. Although I don't think poachers this side are that technologically advanced. But for the most part, all they really have to do is just walk across the border, go talk to any one of the countries that has recently had a war, and you could buy a very cheap firearm for literally not a lot of money. Back when Mozambique still had a lot of AK-47s, you could have gone across the border, buy an AK-47, 5 magazines, and 8,000 rounds of ammunition for around 25,000 rand.
Which, okay, can you put that into a real currency?
It used to be a real currency until it got fucked over.
Okay, 25,000.
No, that's easy. I've got the currency in front of me. I can do the conversion for you right now. So that's 25,000 divided by 14.
Do you have to account for inflation?
This is just a direct conversion. So that's around $1,700 and some cents at current
Rifle
exchange.
and magazines and all that ammunition. Yeah, that's a ridiculously cheap for what you're getting for an AK-47.
Well, in U.S.
Yeah,
dollars, it's cheap. Not in
and
South
no,
Africa.
even for rand, that is very cheap.
Wow, I'm gonna
For that.
but I'm pretty sure if you account for inflation, it's even cheaper.
But no, but see, this is black market, so there is no inflation.
Really?
Yeah, back then this was purely black market stuff. Nobody sold this, but knowing guys that worked in private security, obviously, needing a little bit more firepower than the 9mm handguns that were handed and the shotguns, they took some of their danger pay that they got, they went cross-border and they bought themselves AK-47. So it would not be uncommon to see a guy from privately owned security companies driving around with an AK-47 in his van.
Well, you absolutely got to kill every motherfucker in the room except no substitutes.
Well, when you are facing off against criminals that will be firing at you with AK-47s, wouldn't you want to be armed on the same footing?
Absolutely. I don't blame them at all, but just,
but
they
still,
do what they got to do.
25,000 rand. So, yeah, there you go. And that's right up until the point, 2004, with operation with the South African National Defence Forces, where they started finding these caches and destroying them. Now, when you go cross-border, you start finding more American-made weapons like M16s and AR-15s.
Which are considerably more expensive.
Now, the reason I'm reference both is because, yes, I know the difference between the two. I know the M16 is based off the AR-15, but the civilian version is semi-automatic only.
I'm just saying, though, because they're American-made, those are, there's a reason why terrorists always get 40 cents, because those things are dirt cheap and reliable.
Yep.
Dirt cheap, reliable, grossly inaccurate at anything more than 300 meters, but they fire a bigger bullet, and you have more ammunition in them. Back then,
and
that's before
and
the 30-round magazine.
You can immerse them in mud and they'll still work.
Yeah.
Yeah, not so much with the AR rifles from America.
Yeah, those things. The thing is, the difference is because an AK-47 is one whole piece, whereas an AR-15 has to be assembled.
Yeah, even our own standard service rifle, the R4, is based off the Israeli Galil, which is in and of itself an AK derivative.
Really?
Yes. Except the Israelis took the AK and fixed the majority of the problems with it, i.e. the accuracy issues.
I gotta wonder.
But that's it. But now this is also where the difference comes in. The AK-47 fires a 7.62 by 39mm round. The Galil fires a standard NATO round, 5.56 by 45.
Much more standardized, much easier to get ammunition for it, I imagine.
Yeah, probably.
Well, because it's probably at this point in time the most abundant ammunition type in the world.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely true. Bro. Here's something I kind of got broached with Ginger. Sure, when we were like initially after I hired her, she kind of asked me if like holiday specials were on the table for Changeling.
Why not?
Yeah, I mean, well,
she's
yeah,
Christian.
I mean,
Why not?
well,
Let her celebrate Christmas. God damn it!
Well, not just that. Maeve's birthday's on Christmas too.
Oh, well, there you go. You can have a whole thing about her sharing a birthday with her savior, well, metaphorically speaking.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it wasn't just Christmas she was talking about. I think she was also talking about like Halloween.
Well, Maeve has a built-in Halloween costume, so there's no reason she shouldn't celebrate it.
Well, not only that. Well, also not only that. I mean, like Halloween has a lot of Celtic roots, so there's something to play with there.
Yeah, go for it, man. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, like, well, I did tell her I was gonna. I sort of did tell her, like, I kind of actually did think about doing that, and I actually do have the outline for the outline for the fourth issue is a Halloween issue.
Well, given that she's in high school, I mean, you have a built-in formula where you can depict different parts of the school year,
Yeah.
and how she interacts with the other children at that time of year, and how she can reconcile like her duality and her dual heritages. And like you said, you can explore her Celtic side, her Christian side, and just show a lot of cool depth and dimension.
Yeah.
Just because tradition is huge, and that's what binds us all together culturally speaking. So exploring that and having her come to terms with all of her different heritages would be very compelling, I think, anyway.
Oh yeah, it's like the perfect coming of age story.
Yeah.
Although the point I was trying to go with there, was that ever something that entered your guys' minds?
In terms of Changeling, you mean?
No, just with your books.
Oh, well, yeah, there's a reason most of my characters are 22 years of age, is because that's kind of from my own personal experience and a lot of my friends, that's when you really you're on the cusp of starting your adult life, and you're transitioning almost fully out of your previous life, and it's both exciting and terrifying at the same time. So that's why Molly was 22 when the story started. That's why Adobe's 22 when the story started. And in Adobe's case, she's dealing with far more trauma than the average individual would have ever had to deal with. So there's that too.
Well, not just that. Well, not just. I was talking about more like if holiday specials were on the table for you guys.
Sure. I mean, book 2 actually starts with it doesn't start with, but it has a Christmas dinner, but it goes horribly wrong. Let's put it that way.
As it does.
Yeah, because Adobe and her parents do not, or her mother do not get along at all, and there's kind of like a drastic event that kind of sets the events of book 2 in motion.
I kind of remember that from the audiobook.
Yes. It gets worse though. But yeah, to answer your question, their Christmas and the holidays she gets very sentimental about it because she has like several fond memories when her father was still alive, when their family was still intact, and she will revisit those. But in terms of like doing a holiday special, I don't have any necessarily like a holiday themed episode as of now, not for Adobe. No.
What about Althea, Matt?
It's not off the table, but right now I'm more thinking along the lines of getting the book off the ground, and then running from that.
It's not high priority for you.
Not exactly.
Yeah, I think Changeling lends itself to it better because it's more episodic, like you said, and
Maeve is at a good age for it too.
True, and also it's just like you guys kind of sort of have. Well, I mean, like Mythics is kind of is also more episodic, but it's just more like, yeah, I mean, like, it'd be kind of, if the more I think about it, like, if Matt did one, it'd be really hard for him to play it without it becoming schmaltzy.
Pretty much.
And because Adobe Kroger's more serialized, it's just there's just not room for it.
Yeah, not necessarily as it stands right now. So it's all on you to do the holiday tie-ins.
Exactly.
God damn. Thanks, guys.
Well,
Hey,
you set yourself up for that one yet again.
Yeah, you did.
You keep stepping into these traps, dude.
Yeah, I know. And it all started just because I wanted to think. I end up making the ultimate internet waifu, even though I take every step to avoid it.
And that's what,
Congratulations. You played yourself.
Yeah.
But
And
ultimately, what you did end up with is a very popular character that people like to.
there's something bad about it.
yeah, man, you're doing fine. So what if you have to write a Christmas story? Suck it up and go write it. Nah, I'm just kidding. I think yeah, Maeve will lend herself to some pretty delightful holiday tie-ins.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Hollywood parties. because
Hollywood
y'all-
parties? No.
No.
Keep her on the opposite side of the planet from
Why
Hollywood.
did you go there, Matt?
I
I
blame
would
Mel
rather,
Gibson.
Yeah, keep
No,
her
I think-
as far from Hollywood as you can get her. Jeez. That's a nasty
Mm,
place
yeah.
for a kid.
It is.
Here's what you do: rather get her into the attentions of some rather good anime directors, because I could see some very good slice of life animes coming from this.
Oh, you're talking about the property, not the character in story. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, good. Well,
I don't know. It's for some reason I'd have to keep it away from major studios just because the first instinct I have is that if someone from Hollywood wants to make a cartoon out of Changeling, they're gonna try to make it as woke as possible.
yeah, they're going to make her
that's why I
body
say shop at the
positive.
Japan instead.
So that one super wrong fan art will become real.
No, probably not. Or maybe. Who knows?
I mean, you never know. That might be the artwork of the future. The way CalArts is going.
I
Oh,
never.
my God.
Why did I? God, I didn't even intend it as a challenge, and Zeno did it anyway. It's just
Well, because you threw the challenge out there, and this is the internet.
Yeah, you don't throw challenges out there unless you mean it.
it wasn't even supposed to be a challenge. It was just me saying I haven't seen anyone make bad art yet.
That is enough of a challenge to anyone on the internet.
Yeah, the
I have
internet's
not
middle
seen
name
this.
is challenge accepted.
Exactly. You said, I have not seen this. The internet
Brett.
replied, okay.
Brett, you know that if Brian could draw, he'd do it.
God damn it, he would. Oh goddamn, he would. He fucking would. Oh god.
Actually, I'm surprised that he hasn't tried.
Because he doesn't. Because Brian knows what he can and he can't do.
A man's got to know his limitations.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, you might accidentally walk into making the best May fan art ever.
Or he might. Or oh god. He probably could have just taught Luigi into doing it.
I don't know.
Here's the funny thing. I asked Ginger why she didn't stop him, because what originally happened was she caught him doing it at the beginning, and she said, And she asked him, "This isn't going to be like the She-Ra thing, is it?"
Do you mean do you mean the lit edition, She-Ra?
Yeah.
Oh God.
And his only response to her was no, and so she took that as enough reason to back off. Also, I think she said something about not being able to get it away from him.
Well, at least it wasn't that. So.
Yeah, I mean, Zeno has a twisted sense of humor, but even he's got limits.
Yeah, and people actually like Maeve, so I don't think he'd be able to get away with it.
And it's just more like I'm pretty sure he would. It's just more like, I think it's just more like him saying, like, no, not even I'm going to do that. Like, as long as although once she gets to the Chans, that's when all bets are off.
Yeah.
boy.
Well, you know, she might already be there.
I mean, last year when I was posting a Molly Beans comic on Reddit, the comic itself didn't do too well, but someone said, "This character is acceptable. Is there a Rule 34 of her yet?"
Oh,
Oh boy.
Ouch.
So
Ouch.
you know that the minute you put a female character out there, it's gonna happen eventually.
Might as well take control of it.
Exactly.
In Brian's case, he just took it and ran with it.
More lewd.
Yeah. It's like, you can't loot something that's already been looted, you assholes.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's like, yeah, pretty much. It's pretty much. and yeah, because I mean, like he said he didn't want to do it initially, but he realized it was going to happen anyway, so he might as well own it.
Yeah, he explained it to me as the reason that she's covered in freckles and has got the intricate tattoos was to make the Rule 34 as difficult as possible, or something to that effect.
Because he's such a stickler for for those details.
Right.
And then whenever one of those details is off, you can easily point and say, well, that's a fake. That's not the real one.
Precisely.
Pretty much. Pretty much, yeah. It's just...
It's a clever play, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he doesn't play around, and everything is deliberate. Everything is planned. Everything has a reason.
No, not even with the scalpers he's playing.
Nope.
Yeah, you saw what he put in the back cover. It's like, if you bought this on eBay, you've been scammed. That's hilarious.
Oh yeah, that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
That's taking shit postery to a whole new level.
Yeah, that is. You know, I think I'm pretty sure I'll be spared from most of the Maeve loots, because even though there's going to be that handful of guys who will loot underage characters, you have to look. You actually have to look for those guys. They're not.
I really don't even.
Not so much, because they've been rather blatant with the shit they've been posting on Twitter recently.
Well, somehow I've managed to keep them out of my bubble.
Yeah, but let me just put it this way: to their own detriment, because there's a whole army of people ready and waiting to smash that report.
Yep.
True. Okay, so yeah, like I said, you kind of have to. They're not exactly easy to find.
Mm.
So,
but it's like literally sticking your head up out of a trench in the First World War.
I'm not worried about Shadman Muir. He's blocked on my account.
Mm.
At least for
Yeah,
now.
I don't know. That guy is interesting.
around.
True. Yeah.
All you'll unfortunately need is somebody in his orbit that likes his stuff, quote unquote, to see a picture, send him that, and it's gone.
Oh.
So you're going to start to have to look at, I don't know, lockbotting.
Well, that's one way of dealing with it.
The point I was trying to get at is like when she's 18, then I'll accept that it's off. Then I'll accept that the gloves are off. Okay, it's like I just don't want to see I know they're going to exist. I just don't ever want to have to see them. Is all.
Then just don't Google her. Then.
Yeah, do not Google her.
Or at least keep a safe search on. I mean, googling Regina's a little bit. Googling Regina's a little bit treacherous.
Well, yeah, that's by design, though.
Bro.
Yep.
Don't do it at work.
Oh, definitely not.
Although, to be perfectly honest, a little bit of a story from work is we actually did have guys that were fired for searching Pornhub and RedTube and all those things while on night shift.
Well, they were doing it on company time, of course. Well, they should have been fired.
No, not just on company time, on company computers.
Again,
Dude,
that's good
as
reason
well.
to fire them.
Do
That's
they
a
not
good reason
have phones or something they could do it on, or
to.
I
This
don't
is
know.
South Africa, Dan.
Oh,
They have
that's
a-
right.
The majority of the guys here don't get smartphones. They get small, cheap phones that you can buy for 200 Rand. That literally it does calls and SMSs. Because everybody goes on a pay as you go. Because they live in areas where if you have any sort of fancy phone, they steal it from you. Even if you have a shitty phone like that, they'll steal it from you literally because reasons. So buying a cheap phone, pay as you go, they don't risk losing a expensive smartphone or something like that.
That makes good sense.
So in that essence, it would be very easy to get burner phones here, but it's actually not because of a certain piece of legislation we have called it's called RICA, R-I-C-A. It's something to do with the Registration of Independent Communications Act or something stupid along those lines. It is this registered. Fuck it. But we have the same thing for banks, FICA, Financial Information Something Act. Same kind of deal. You need to have a proof of residence and whenever you buy anything related to financial information, or in this case for cell phones, you need to provide a proof of residence, 3 months bank statements,
Jeez.
and a whole list of stuff to just buy a pay-as-you-go cell phone. But even then it doesn't work because you see there guys, they rock up there with a title deed that says Stand 29 and the town's name. Then when they actually go do the investigations to see if this guy actually lives there, it's an empty plot of land. No house there at all. So the laws they put in place to prevent fraud don't work.
Imagine my shock.
So obviously, and because everybody's aware of them, a certain country that's a little bit further north in Africa have taken that whole thing. They've figured this out, and that is why you have 419 scams running rampant. 419 being the law under which they are charged in that country for frauds of these type.
Oh, now I get it.
Yes.
So that's where the Nigerian prince scam comes from.
Yep. So, fun times on that.
Yep.
So the majority of time, if you get a guy with running one of those scams your way, he's probably some Nigerian based in South Africa with a burner phone and a Google account and.
Of course.
God damn
But
it.
those things are quite funny to read. You have won this much money. Really?
Yeah. It's like, how stupid do they think someone is going to be to actually fall for that?
Well, in South Africa alone, we have had over 5,000 separate reports this year alone.
uncomfortable silence. People dumb enough to believe that.
Yeah, but still, that's how easy it is for these people. Basically, they prey on two things: human gullibility and human greed.
Yeah.
Pretty much. You know what?
So, McKinnon Chronicles, do they celebrate Christmas?
Depends on where they're from.
I mean, is Maisie a believer?
I'm gonna say yes, simply because I think that there will still be people who believe in religion in the far future.
I was
Maybe
just curious because I want to see a Maisie Christmas special.
not. Well, she does have a family to celebrate it with, so hey, why not?
Yeah, that actually would be nice.
So that I can help Brett with his load
Yeah,
of
I mean,
holiday stuff.
right? He shouldn't have to bear that burden alone. You should help him with that cross that he bears,
God
and then
knows
he's gonna run off and leave you with it, saying "sucker."
God knows being one of the token Christians in our group, I carry a lot of crosses.
Well, you also create a character that lends herself well for these kinds of specials.
I do. Yeah. Well, yeah, true. I did. And I'm not a, and I like that I did. I like that I did. Okay, it's like people think
You
it's
have something. You have something unique.
yeah. No one can accuse Maeve of being unoriginal.
Now, if you had a superhero comic, then you could be called unoriginal.
Well, I guess technically she has superpowers.
I guess so. Yeah, it's just like
To a degree.
I mean, she can phase like Shadowcat. She can scream like the X-Men called Banshee. She can disappear into shadows like Blackout or whoever that guy is. So yeah, she's like a lot of superheroes in one, and cuter too.
what the fuck is Blackout?
He was a villain that could control the dark matter universe in the Marvel universe. I don't know if he can actually disappear into shadow. I just made the association because he manipulates shadow.
Yeah.
Now, for my story as well, same answer as Matt. Depends on where they're from. Far future, but considering the goings on there, on some planets it has actually reinforced the belief, depending on the denomination. Obviously, with funky immortal characters popping up, they'd obviously have their own religious cults forming around them if the person is so inclined. I mean, so here's a normal person that suddenly throws fire from their hands, even in a world as advanced with the technology by that time. It wouldn't be too far-fetched to a person not in armor or anything, and suddenly that happens. That you could see how that happens, especially if they heal miraculously from what would normally be a deadly wound.
So what you've got here is actual miracles occurring in front of people's eyes.
Quote unquote.
Right.
So that would reinforce belief, or it would make people not believe anymore, or it would, like I said, if the person is so inclined, they could literally create a cult around themselves, and those are some storylines I am going to be exploring in later volumes.
Yeah, well, when you've got a story that centers around immortal characters, like that like the idea of being worshipped like a living god, that's just inevitable.
Yep.
Yeah, to Stefan's point about religions being built around certain people, that reminds me of, like, in the Dune series, the Bene Gesserit had something called the Missionaria Protectiva, which would actually install religious beliefs into people against the future need of their order. So if a Bene Gesserit got in trouble, they could evoke these religious beliefs that they implanted generations ago, which is a pretty intriguing way of looking at it.
Which is how Paul was able to manipulate the Fremen.
Exactly, precisely. Yeah.
I'm thinking of stuff like Jim Jones and shit. I mean, like that. I mean, you convince like over 300 people to drink Kool-Aid laced with arsenic.
Yeah, that was distressing, to say the least.
Yeah.
It's like, I'd rather people fall for a Nigerian prince scam than that scam.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, I almost gotta wonder if there's going to be like a Jim Jones type figure sort of pop up in your books, Tank.
Maybe, maybe not.
Well, him taking the poison wouldn't really do anything to him anyway, would it?
Well, him taking the poison wouldn't do jack shit to him.
Yeah. Everyone
His
else.
followers, on the other hand,
Well, duh.
They're
although
fucked.
people in this timeline are slightly more psychotic, so they'd literally be like, time to be cleansed. And if he's Pyre, they would just, spontaneously combust the person right in front of everybody else.
Well, yep, that's a purging.
But I'm kidding on that one. But it's literally, I mean, think about how most cults are. You have guys that claim divine right, but now instead of just claiming it, they can prove it, in quote unquote, in front of people. Suddenly it goes from mere belief to, look, he proved. So obviously you'd have a cult that forms around this person much more strongly than, I don't know, the people who formed around David Koresh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Koresh.
Waco, Texas. The Branch Davidians.
David Koresh or Jim Jones, yeah.
Yeah. So while they had pretty strong cults around them, some of the people from Waco, Texas that survived actually started to, they kind of managed to break the programming. However, now you've got a guy that can actually literally prove everything he has to say. Makes for a much more interesting character in that sense.
Oh, especially if he's just like, if he doesn't even believe what he's saying, like he's just using it because he's just probably like that's that much of a psychopath, and he just likes being able to manipulate people, gain power, gain money. Yeah. I mean, it is very conceivable that there is one of these people that took over an entire planet. Now, because there's no unifying government, as it were, until this cult becomes a threat to one of the larger planets or systems, only then would they start taking notice to actually try and do something about it. Because remember, what I'm saying about my story is there is no unifying universal government. The planets and systems only work together if they actually really have to.
Well, when you have an empire that dispersed, it can be very difficult to have a central lying authority.
Yeah, even the Imperium of Man isn't exactly that unified, despite all the claims it makes. It's like you go, like every planet can have its own system of government.
No, but
like
see, there is no. I just went with there is no unifying government. Yeah. People got away from that stuff, which is why I reference Earth as old Earth due to all the nasty shit that happened there, in terms of why people left the planet in the first place, and people were just like, "Yeah, fuck that, we're not doing that again."
But there is an empress, isn't there?
For the one system.
Right. So there's no unifying emperor over all the systems.
No, it comes down to the form of government that system uses.
Yeah, so one could be like a top-down monarchy. One could actually be a Roman-style republic. One could.
Yeah, or you could literally have a system that is somehow ruled by communists. Not very effectively. It
I
wouldn't
was
be
gonna,
going anywhere.
I was gonna say you could have a system that's full on fascist,
Yes, you could, potentially.
or possibly one that's got no government at all. I guarantee there's got to be at least like one system in your universe that there's like that's completely lawless.
Yeah.
Or hell, you could even have
it's already there.
you could even have one that's even anarcho-capitalist, where everyone just freely trades and doesn't fight.
What I'm imagining is like there's like one part in Stefan's universe where it's like it's basically the Wild West. It's like it's a whole system that nobody owns. It's pretty much up land there is pretty much up for grabs. But the catch is there's no government to protect you. You gotta everyone is out to get you essentially. It's like being on the Outer Rim in Star Wars. Like it's free, but it's
freedom isn't free. You gotta fight to defend it.
Yeah. That lawless planet you are referring to already exists, and it is actually one of the free trading worlds that regularly gets referenced.
Because they're just too busy being productive and they're not fighting.
No, because they actually have a resource that the rest of the universe needs.
Is it the spice?
Oh boy.
No. In this case, it would be Starship. In this case, it would be Starship fuel.
Okay. Well, similar thing. It's something that everyone absolutely, essentially requires in order to survive.
Well, you can move around at jump speed, which uses the fusion reactors instead, but you're not going to be doing quick maneuvers.
Right. It's just much more impractical. It's like you can do it, but it's like driving a car with your feet. It's not recommended.
Or driving in city traffic and trying to put your foot to the floor the whole time.
Right. Technically, it can be done, but it's a dumb idea.
Yeah, because you will most likely end up crashing into a planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, traveling through hyperspace ain't like dusting crops, boy.
Actually, now that you think about it, if you actually think about going through hyperspace in Star Wars, like there's a higher amount of degree of accuracy required to do that because,
like, you fly through a piece of dust at that speed, it'll destroy you. So, I mean,
Which kind
It's
of
all
makes,
kinetic energy.
which makes the whole thing that happens in The Last Jedi really impractical.
yeah, I mean, the amount of energy she would have released at that speed would have done much more than it did. It would have like atomized the entire sector practically. I mean,
And that is why most sci-fi universes are dumb. But believe them anyway.
yeah.
like put it this way, at least Dune sort of got around this by using, well, the way I think essentially the Navigators folded space, but I think essentially what they did was just make wormholes.
Right, and they also used their prescience to avoid any dangers. So that was the big thing. Was that they knew the safest path to fold so that they would not collide with anything that just happened to be going through space at that moment.
Also true.
Yeah, I tend to get around that whole thing by kind of going with the Halo method. Jump space is an entirely separate, empty entity from our own.
It's like an off-ramp. It's a bypass. Yeah, that's awesome.
There's literally nothing there.
Yeah, there's also...
And even if you do say, quote unquote, come across the path of another ship, you're going to phase right through each other.
Well, there's also...
Because...
I was also gonna say, I mean, like, you also got, like, something like Stargate got around that really beautifully, too. I mean, like, the Stargate is literally a wormhole generator.
Yeah,
it
is.
But yeah, Stefan's Stefan's theory works perfectly fine. You know, keep it eternally consistent. I buy it. I'm on board.
Yeah, true.
I am trying to go for a bit more hard sci-fi route. Like space combat it's silent. The only time you'll actually hear something is if something impacts the hull, and that's about it. There won't be any noise from explosions or things, especially with the large amount of battles that I tried to depict. I'm still not sure if I delivered those correctly, but I'll have to wait and see what the response is to those.
You know, I get the feeling it looked more like.
Whoa.
Where the fuck are you, man?
I'm on my front porch. Hold on a second. Yeah, the kids and my wife are asleep, so I'm on my phone in the front porch. I couldn't hit the mute button fast enough.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
It could be worse. I mean, we could have a peacock come sitting directly next to my window and start yelling.
Or it could be, or my white trash neighbors with their chickens.
Or a ninja with his train.
Or the trains.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm on a through road and I'm on the corner. So every now and then I get a big diesel dually tooling through the neighborhood, or some kid on a motorcycle. And this is at midnight. You know, they just don't give a shit that people are trying to sleep. It's quite rude.
Well, imagine how people must feel who live next to a highway.
Yeah, that's why down here we have these walls that are 2 stories high that supposedly muffle the noise but don't. So they're just a big eyesore.
And they just obstruct your view.
Yeah.
I don't know. For some reason, my neighborhood's got that. My neighborhood has those same walls, but they seem to work. But then again, I'm not that close to them.
I used to live right on the other end of one, in this little apartment building, and I can attest that I heard everything that was happening on the highway without any difficulty whatsoever.
Our biggest issue we have is actually not the bird park, but the fire station close to us. If you think that's a lot of things allowed, wait until around 2 in the morning when the alarm there goes off, and then these things start going out because there was an accident somewhere.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, sirens.
No,
I'm
it's
glad I
actually
don't live in Detroit where there's a lot of sirens.
the funny thing is, after a while, you tend to get used to it, so I'm not too fazed by it anymore. It's just one of those things. I mean, the worst thunderstorm we had, I only woke up due to the tree that got struck outside, because it literally struck close, like probably, how to put this? Fuck the conversions. There we go. Now I just need to remember which one is the better conversion. Yards or feet. Okay, for the most part, this is actually very accurate. So probably around 54 yards from my window.
Jeez.
Yeah. So lightning went off that close. That's got to be end of the world loud.
Yeah, and the tree actually caught fire. So that's probably one of the only times I actually woke up from a thunderstorm. Literally because it struck right outside my window.
I would too. I would have thought I was under fire or something.
I'm a pretty deep sleeper.
Yeah, definitely. I can.
All right.
Yeah, I think I've just probably had a little too much to drink. I've been pounding back eggnog and with some whiskey in it. I'm just gonna take it a little slow for a bit.
That's why you don't add as much alcohol to the eggnog.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Like I said, I plan on making this thing last, and I've got like a little less than half the bottle left now.
Yeah. It's probably a good time to slow it down.
Yep.
Besides, we've also got New Year's too.
I'm just gonna buy a case. I'm just gonna buy a case of Irish Death for that. That is a. You guys won't find that where you live because that's a local brew out here in Washington.
No, they recently just since they legalized weed this side, we now have cannabis-infused beer.
Why would you want to get drunk and baked?
Because people this side of the world are fucking stupid.
Well, it's from Canada, so they voted for Trudeau.
No, it's actually local. It's locally brewed. It's called Durban Poison.
Oh, okay. Well then,
dude. I mean, like I live like, dude. I mean, like they legalized pot out here in Washington. I don't think we have that, as far as I know.
You never know.
Never know what's
but the funny thing about the legalization is it literally only involves you growing it, not selling it. So I don't know if these guys already found a loophole around it in the law, because our laws have so many loopholes in them, it's not even funny.
Dude, that's messed up. I mean, like, well, I mean, was it even like a thing for like, say, was even like, say, a thing for was even a thing to have it for medicinal purposes?
No, it wasn't even a thing for that. What you have to understand is we went from a very, very, very strict and really, I wouldn't say conservative government, I would say Puritan government, pretty much for the most part, to one that doesn't really know what the fuck they're doing.
You're talking about back when you had apartheid?
Yeah, well, even before then. We literally went from a government that, but if we have to reference the apartheid government, now you have to talk about a government that censored, muted, and outright banned certain types of media from being released here. Part of the reason comics isn't such a big thing in this country for a lot of reasons is due to them banning a lot of American media.
It's like
comic books in general.
I don't get it. Like, what the fuck? It's like,
and then there's the songs and everything that they banned. So a lot of the songs, Rodriguez's Cold Fact album was banned. Chris de Burgh's The Spanish Train was banned. Pretty much the majority of all metal was banned. Rock and roll, quite a few songs. Anything that was deemed subversive or damaging. Hell, we only started getting televisions into the country around the early 80s. Late 70s, early 80s. And even then, they were, even for back then, prohibitively expensive. I mean, our first television set that we got was this small thing, and it cost us around 400 Rand. Now, if you have to account for inflation from back then to now, that 400 Rand would be probably about as much as we are paying for 55-inch LED TVs now, which is around 20 grand.
I guess they never heard of the axiom that if you ban something, it makes people want it more.
Well, they still tried.
Yeah, it doesn't work for parents. It doesn't work for governments.
No, especially not for governments.
Yes.
I mean, it's not like Prohibition did you guys any help.
Nope. And it's definitely not like the war on drugs has done us any help either.
Nope.
Well, that's because it's done completely in an incorrect way. the war on drugs, as I see it, is done and perpetrated to make it look like they're doing a job. But meantime, there's a couple of guys on the back end profiting heavily from it. So they'll
I
do just
know.
enough to make it look like they're doing something, but actually they're just making sure that they're protecting their investments.
Oh yeah, I know. Like there's a couple there's a couple drug. Everyone kind of knows it. There's like certain drug lords that the government makes deals with. Like they give them, like they'll sell them guns, and in exchange we get.
Yeah. So if the war on drugs was done in any proper way, these guys would have all been probably at the receiving end of a Navy SEAL or Delta operator's fucking sniper rifle already, and their drug stocks would have been burned. The stock would literally be destroyed.
It's not about stopping drugs. It's just about giving them an excuse to acquire more power over us. That's what it's always been about anyway.
No, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. If this was truly about getting rid of it, that's the way it would have been done. It's a harsh and brutal way of looking at it, but that is.
Yeah, true. But it also doesn't help that half of the problem is also in Mexico, and they are doing fuck all to deal with it.
Well,
it doesn't help also that. Go ahead.
Yeah, you were saying?
I was just saying it doesn't help also that so many branches of the government have a vested interest in it continuing, because that's what their entire career is based on, is combating drugs. If it just suddenly went away, what would all these people have to do with their lives?
Get real jobs, I guess. I don't know. It reminds me of that. It reminds me of this one episode of The Wire when it's when it's in City Hall, and I can't remember what. I can't remember the exact context, but all I remember is this really good line. Is one of the guys in the mayor's cabinet says, "We better." I don't think any of us want to have to go and get real jobs.
Yeah, that would require effort.
Being a politician is a very, very lucrative job. I mean, you sit around, you talk shit all day, and you collect a fat paycheck.
Very easy too. You don't have to do anything.
I'm just referencing the previous town I lived in, the former mayor there. He, on the town council's budget, he bought himself for us it's an expensive car. It's one of those VW Touareg SUVs, the 10 liter, the V10 diesel version, or something like that. No, it's a fucking. I don't know. I can't even know what fucking motor it was, but it was the powerful one. It cost about 2.5 million rand, which he then took to armor specialists to make it bulletproof.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah, because he's that kind of level of fucking paranoid. So, and he also had a vanity plate on the fucking thing. But that is the level of stupidity and corruption we are dealing with in this country. That money that he used for his car was slated to go towards improvements at the hospital in town.
So wait, did you just say your mayor embezzled cash?
Yes.
Politicians don't do that.
Former mayor. But because he is part of the ruling party, he got a slap on the wrist, told, don't do that again. He got his, if I remember correctly, 10 million rand golden parachute, and he got to keep his car and property.
Oh, okay. Was the golden parachute metaphoric or actually real?
It's a metaphorical term for the fact that, okay, you are fired, but here is enough money to keep you going afterwards.
Yeah. So because he was in the right party, he basically could get away with embezzlement.
Yes. How do you think we have a former president who embezzled 240 million rand for improvements to his personal homestead, which was meant for security, but he added a pool, a amphitheater for entertaining guests, a chicken run, and a place to keep his cattle.
Boy.
Your government just sounds like theater of the absurd, but it's real. And that's the scary part.
Dude, I could tell you stories. I've relayed stories on numerous streams about how fucking funny and shitty this government is, but it is to the point where we don't get angry at it anymore. We laugh at it due to how laughable it has become. I mean, we have an admiral on national television admitting the reason we have submarines in our navy is because there are sharks in the fucking ocean.
Are you guys losing the war on sharks?
I want to see them torpedo a shark. I really do.
I don't even think we have torpedoes in these subs. They're decent subs at that.
So what they do? Fire rocks at them?
I've got no idea, but
They probably just ram them. Ramming speed.
Probably. And then there's the fact that that Simonstown Naval Base was looted entirely. The one armory was cleaned out. We have our own police force that require keep them safe. It's a comedy of errors and a total shit show. Then there are the taxi wars.
Oh, the taxi wars.
Yes. Literal taxi wars where taxi drivers all rock up and start shooting at each other because no, this is my fair route, not yours. Get out. I will kill you.
My God. That's a premise for a comic. Right there.
Numerous people have said that. Numerous people have said that. And then there's Shark Wars, except there's already an anime that was done on that, so that one's a little bit of a lost one. Blue Submarine number 6. Also a manga. But anyway, let's see. Here we go. There's a whole list of YouTube videos on this.
There's times I wonder if the laughing will ever stop, and then you guys realize, man, we just live in the most laughable country in the world. Why hasn't anyone taken us over yet?
It's like Sam Kinison said. You can't get any more vulgar than this. Wait, here's another rock layer. Let's see what's under here.
Yeah, well, let's look at it this way. In a country where private security outnumbers the military and police force, where your police force is, you have around 20% of your officers being morbidly obese, 25% of your police force not being competent in using their firearms. Your military has the nasty distinction of having the highest recorded amount of rapes while being deployed in DRC. Now add to the fact that they total around 150,000 standing. Then you have private security that outnumber them. Private security companies in this country are run by former military and police guys who were outed because their politics and, in some cases, unfortunately, skin color did not align. You have a private security force that, at last count at the start of this year, was 550,000 and projected to reach around 720,000 employees by 2020.
That's like a coup waiting to happen.
Yep.
That is why our government can't afford for anything in this country to happen, because they'd lose. So, yes, you see all the nasty stuff happening, land expropriation. But like I tell everybody, those kinds of things, this country is not going to be cut and dry, because now, once you get onto that, you have to add in all the old racial, tribal lines as well.
Yep. All I'm saying is, I did not think you could run a place any worse than Flint, Michigan.
That's why South Africa exists.
Hold my beer.
Yep.
Yeah. That is why this country exists.
I'm pretty sure at least South Africa still has clear running water, mostly.
Depends on where you live.
They're silent, so...
Depends on literally where you live.
Yeah, although it's pretty much ubiquitous that all the water in Flint is brown.
Pretty much.
Well, let me put it this way. In some places in South Africa, they don't even have running water.
Yeah, it's hard to muck up something you don't have, right?
Well, that's the problem. They did have running water. And the infrastructure got screwed up so bad that they don't have anymore.
Yeah, I guess. But it's like I said, but yeah, like with both Flint's case, like the water's just brown because it's filled with rust.
You know, for Flint, I'd have to say they are proud. The people there, the leaders over there, are probably saying, "Thank God Rick Snyder was this stupid," because if there was an actual emergency, they were fucked. They would be fucked.
I mean, this is all funny and all, but to be perfectly honest, I'm having my last bit of coffee right now. Yeah. I'm just looking at everything. So what's the time there, guys?
It is 11:40 p.m. for me.
8:40.
It's 11:40 for me. I'm in the Eastern time zone.
Yeah, the one closest to my side.
So, for another kind of Christmas story, I'm going to say Gundam 0080.
War in the Pocket.
Yep. Probably one of the most brutal of the Gundam OVAs.
I haven't watched a lot of that.
I think
mean,
you might.
How much of like the old? This seems like this OVA, if I remember correctly, it's set in the Universal Century Gundam, right?
Yeah, during the first series.
So, but yeah, so how much do you need? How much of that series do you need to know to get 0080?
A lot of these OVAs were meant to be standalone stories, so not a whole lot.
Yeah.
Well, it's a very short run. I think there's only, 3-4 episodes.
So I just need to quickly take a look at what our weather is holding, because we've got a high pressure forming over the country, which means there's going to be no cloud cover or anything. Yes. A nice high of 80 degrees with 89% humidity for us today. Yes.
That's 80 degrees Fahrenheit, right?
Yes, I converted for your benefits.
I was going to say, usually go with Celsius, and that would be disastrous if that were the case.
Well, the benefits of the weather app I'm using on is just one click and it converts instantly. I don't have to go into calculator and all those wonderful things first.
Oh God, yeah, I hated having to learn that back in middle school. Like I actually had a math book where we had to learn the whole converting from Celsius to Fahrenheit formula, and it was just like, I'm gonna say this about most of the math I learned through school. About the only
it's
math
practically useless now.
all the useful math I learned was all the way back in third grade.
See, that's one thing I don't know is really to what point are you using algebra in everyday life? I've not seen it.
I mean, you use it if you use calculus and if you're trying to calculate orbits and acceleration, but that's a very specific discipline.
Yeah,
it's not every day you're sitting in an office, you're working with just normal numbers.
Yeah,
Dan,
absolutely
I'm
not.
sure even in your line of work, the math isn't that complicated.
No, it isn't. I mean, the algorithms we tend to have to write or utilize don't often make any use of any of that stuff. No.
So, dear algebra, please stop asking me to find your ex. She fucked off long ago.
The funny thing about my high school, I had to take geometry and algebra as required credits, but personal finance was offered for 1 quarter as an elective.
Yeah, you don't need to know how to, manage a budget or balance your checkbook, but definitely got to be able to balance an equation.
Yeah, you need to be able to know how to do a nuclear equation. You don't need to know how to budget. Fuck you.
That's gonna say a lot about public education when the stuff that's actually useful is offered as an elective.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most tragic thing is you graduate from high school and you are good at exactly nothing. I mean, you have no skills, and that's what. Oh God! Like when my parents were young, you would be taught how to fix cars in high school. That was a required course. Woodworking. You'd be set up to learn a trade, but not anymore.
Yeah, that's exactly how our education system was as well. So as you went through school, even in primary school, so we have 12 years of school. So you have primary school, high school. During primary school, they assessed where you were good at and everything. And then by the time you reach high school, they used your assessments from primary school to show you the subjects that you would be suited at. So if you excelled at the woodworking in primary school, they would now teach you metal work and all those things in high school. Or if you were good at numbers and things, they would then start showing you things like typing and those kinds of skills, or home economics, things like that. Now they don't. Now it's a more standardized system, but even then, our education system is now so shitty, you only need 30% to pass. So it's you practically have to know fuck all to get through school, which means by the time you leave matric, which is grade 12, you know less than nothing. We have people that are entering the workforce that can't read or write.
This is how the government maintains control over the population. If they don't know how to do anything, they need the government for a lot more. So
it's the mushroom treatment. Keep them dumb, deaf, blind, and stupid, and feed them bullshit.
Yeah. Precisely.
And when my dad was in high school, now, the high school my dad went to, it was part of a ranch, which doubled as a home for boys who didn't have one. He lived there because his aunt and uncle worked there. So while he was there, the school there was kind of set to at least teach these boys useful life skills, and because, like I said, part of it was a ranch, they had to learn they had to do stuff like herd cattle, learn how to slaughter them, and raise them and stuff. Like my dad actually, was in Future Farmers of America back in high school. Although he said he was in it just because it got him college credit. But another thing, back when he was in high school, he actually had a cow that he raised, and he took it to the cattle auction house out in Amarillo, and he said he got like $3,000 for it. And my dad was in high school back in the 70s. That's a lot of money for a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
for me personally, when it comes down to that, I was in school. I started school when we still were under the old system. And as I started getting to around grade 7, that's when the transition to the current method happened. So all the assessments and everything I had in primary school meant absolutely jack shit when I reached high school.
Funny thing. Here's the funny thing.
There.
Here's the funny thing, though. My dad, I don't think my dad learned a lot of skills about ranching. He did not go to college for it, though. My dad went to college to work in radio.
Sorry, Dan, I cut you off there. You want to say something?
No, I'm good.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
I just realized now.
Yeah, it's just the funny thing is, my dad learned a bunch of ranching skills. He goes into college to learn radio, and he ends up being a pastor.
Strange how life works.
Yeah. Well, actually, I remember, the story he keeps telling is that when he got to college, he said, "God, I'll do whatever you want, just don't make me a pastor."
Well, yeah, well, for me personally, I studied to do, and I've got qualifications to do desktop supports and all those kinds of things, work IT, and here I am working a shitty office job in no way related to working with computers. So how's that?
I don't know. I mean, at least you went
Awful.
better than what I went to college for. I went to college for marketing. I'm barely doing anything with it.
Well, you are kind of using it for your comic.
Well, okay, yeah, that's kind of, I'm kind of doing something with it. But I didn't get, it's not like I got a job in marketing or anything.
No, but what you learned in college, you're applying now. So
I guess.
That much of a waste?
I guess so. It's just, I'm just saying, Dan's the one who sort of came out on top between us all.
Yeah.
Well, I've had a little bit more time than you guys have, so no worries, you'll get there.
Eventually.
Yeah. I mean, it was in terms of I actually wanted to be an illustrator when I was in high school, and decided to go into IT kind of because I wanted to be able to finance my my creative endeavors, and I ended up staying in IT for a lot longer and a much more greater depth than I'd ever anticipated. But in the end, it worked out.
Yeah.
Oh, it definitely did.
Yeah. I've actually told my brother and sister they'd be better off just avoiding college altogether. Like nowadays, and my dad's trying to push my brother into going to college because, again, I don't hold it against my dad. He's still I mean, like that. It's kind of what he knows, and he's still kind of. I mean, I love my dad, but he's a boomer, and him like he still kind of has that mindset. Although I think he's just a little bit older than you, Dan.
A little bit, probably, if he's a boomer. Yeah, I'm Gen X.
My dad turned 57 this year.
Yeah, I'm not quite there yet.
My father went to university after obviously his service in the military. Now, the big thing for him is even back then, he saw the way our universities were going to go. So he never pushed us to go to university. He literally told us that this is your choice. I'm not going to tell you to do anything. It's your choice. And you better be sure which choice you're making.
Yeah. And the way my dad frames it is that it's like going to college gets you more opportunities when you have a degree, which, let me put it this way, he's right and wrong about it. It's just, I think it's more like my dad seems to think like any degree is a good degree.
I mean, it really depends on your profession. Like if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, our degree is required to continue on into the relevant school. But other than that, necessarily, like unless you actually absolutely require a degree, like going into higher education without a clear plan is just a way to throw yourself down a hole of debt and make no money when you're done. So my advice to my kids is like, I want them to learn a trade, and if they feel they must go to college, then that's their choice. But I'm not going to push them towards it.
Yeah. I just tell my brother and sister, don't even bother with college, just go get a job.
Yeah, I mean, there are a number of kids that are only a few years older than my son that just went straight to work in a garage, and they're on track to run and manage the garage by the time they're 21 years old. 4 years later, they can own their own garage. Who knows? And they don't have any debt, and they're doing great.
Yeah, a friend of mine, he got a job as an electrician thanks to his sister's boyfriend, and now he's making like $17 an hour.
Yeah, and he doesn't have any debt either, probably.
No, definitely not. Although I mean, like I say, he's making $17 an hour, but electrician, that's a union job, so you got to factor in those fees.
True, but the cool thing is everyone's always going to need an electrician, no matter where you are. So he's got himself a nice secure future there because he has a valuable skill people need.
Also
and
true,
you can't say that for the majority of college graduates. They actually, like, very few of them have any useful skills by the time they're graduating from college. It used to be like like I was saying, you should be able to take the world on when you graduate from high school. And our kids aren't even prepared for that. And that's the most tragic thing.
Definitely. Like I think, you know, my generation was just, we were woefully misled.
Yeah, I mean, the average advice that people your age would have been given was, okay, I mean, you saw Fight Club, I'm assuming, right?
I did.
Okay, so what do you do now? I don't know. Go to college. I finished college. What do I do now? I don't know. Get a job. Okay, got a job. Now what? I don't know. Get married. You know, and that's the extent of the wisdom you were given. It's really, really unfortunate.
Not just that. Now a lot of young men my age, they just got out once they got out of high school, then they found out that the world was kind of stacked, like the system was kind of stacked against them too.
Oh yeah, especially young men these days. I don't envy a young man just starting out trying to enter the dating pool and the professional pool and all that stuff. It's really not a happy place to be.
Nope.
It's a minefield. I can attest to that.
Which is why so many guys my age are now kind of trying to, if they, like, put it this way, if they're not like sleeping around with tons of girls, they're filling that hole with video games and porn.
Right, because, like, what's the incentive to do anything else? I mean, what do they have to look forward to if they get married? I mean, like, if she's not happy, you can lose everything and never see your kids again, you know?
Especially when a lot of these guys came from broken homes themselves.
Yeah. So they immediately, if you don't have a good strong bond with your parents, you're that much more susceptible to latch on to a very damaged person in your adult relationships too, and that just continues the cycle.
I'm pretty sure. When I get the feeling there's just like Adobe's history is just one bad ex after another.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of tried to make that point. Like, once her family fractured, like, all of, like, her mother's subsequent relationships just ended up going very poorly, and she ended up just getting more and more alienated from her only source of support, which was her home and her family. And when a young person is put in that situation, they're much more likely to fall into addiction. They're much more likely to fall in with equally damaged people because they don't know anything else, and they're just trying to find some semblance of, stability and or safety. So yeah, we'll be seeing a lot of that in the comic and in further novels.
Man, I think you said, like, in Althea's case, it's just she just had like the one relationship, right?
Yeah. Well, not so much one. She's had her fair share of relationships, just that they didn't really go anywhere.
Yeah, but then she had the one.
Yep. And then that sent her into
that got taken away from her.
Time of depression.
Yeah, I don't get the feeling Maeve is the only one who's going to end up with a normal relationship life.
That'll be the funny thing.
The one is the least normal.
Nah, still rotting. I'll take you up on that challenge.
Challenge accepted. Well, whatever happens, I'm really excited to see how it all unfolds next year when we all get our books done. So,
well, hopefully I get it done within the first half of 2019, just because, like I said, the biggest hurdle I've got to overcome is money, but I do see that improving because I I'm 90%. I'm like 99% sure I finally made the last payment on that LA Fitness contract, which was the stupidest idea I made the stupidest idea I had all year.
Well, getting fit wasn't a bad idea, but the contract may have been.
Yeah, the membership fee by itself wasn't bad. Where I got stupid was I thought to myself, I don't know anything about fitness. Maybe I should get a trainer. That's where I got hit. That's where I got hit financially. It's just like I just should have thought to myself, you know what? If you don't know anything, just look up fucking YouTube videos for workouts.
Yeah, there's some remarkably good content on YouTube for almost any subject. It's like, hey, I got lower back pain. How do I get rid of this? Oh, here's 15 exercises that might help. Do these every day. Yeah.
It's just like the idea wasn't bad. It's just like I made a cut. I just made it just. The idea by itself wasn't a bad idea. Just one other decision made it really stupid.
Live and learn. You're fine.
Well, I was losing $240 a month to it, Dan.
Okay, you're not fine. You're an idiot. No, seriously. Well, at least you're getting out of it now. So hopefully that will free up more money for your project.
It does. And I can put. And like I said, I'm just pretty much hoping that as I get more content put out, that draws more people in. But now, of course, we got the whole Patreon deal, which, I mean, for the time being, that's being kept up. It's going to remain up because how else am I going to collect money reliably?
Yeah, me too. I haven't
scared
lost
most
any
people away.
I actually haven't had anyone unsubscribe, oddly enough. So I'm just going to leave it up there for the moment. And I was about to jump onto Subscribestar myself, but then the whole deplatforming of that platform occurred. And I wasn't like, because I tried to go on to Maker Support, and that imploded pretty quickly. And I tried to persuade people to just subscribe directly to PayPal, and I got a few, but not a lot. So it's like Patreon still has that brand recognition, but I think they've just completely ruined it, finally. So hopefully someone else will plug up the hole in the market.
Yeah. Pretty much.
No, the way you're going to plug that hole is by the creators going directly to the audience, like cutting out the middlemen entirely.
Yeah, I mean, like Rooster Teeth has a really good system for that, and they don't use Patreon. I think, they probably have been, but they've been doing this before Patreon was a thing.
Yeah, I don't think they've ever had a Patreon. They just use their sponsorship platform.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, like when I was doing my original webcomic, we just would take donations and we would go directly through PayPal. So it's definitely something that can work. Just a matter of getting people on board to it.
Yeah, you can even go with the Penny Arcade model. They used to, I think, they had a sort of member. Like sort of a members only section. Like I think the trade off was you got T-shirts, and you probably got the comics earlier than everyone else did.
Yeah, that's something that we can definitely leverage. One of the things that I did back in 2005 for I don't know if I sent you guys the link to the archive for that old comic, but someone put up an archive. It was hosted on a domain called clanbob.net, and it was called Life O'Reilly. And about a year or so into the run, I orchestrated this event where I just put out an open call on our forum. It was like, if you want to be in the comic, just respond to this thread. And I got 60 people responding to it. And I worked them into this epic storyline where they fought this arch succubus, essentially. And they were all soldiers in the army. And from that sprang the whole notion of the Bob title, essentially, like Clan Bob, and they were Bobs. And they each had their own title, like there was Ogre Bob and Hottie Bob and Techie Bob and Photoshop Bob, or whatever the hell they wanted. And on the forums, they all had that nickname, and I designed custom little icons for them and everything. And we developed a pretty strong community out of that, because we had the core 50 of them that all had titles, and everyone knew that would come in would have titles. and they felt like they could insert themselves into the world that way. And 10 years later, people are still remembering that comic because of that community we built. And that's something that we can very easily do to an order of magnitude greater with all of our combined properties. Like we have the Fey world, we have Mythics, we have the Paladins, we have this new property that Stefan is putting out. So we could actually have some kind of like area where they can say, hey, I'm part of this world and I'm a Paladin, or hey, I'm a Fey, or hey, I'm a member of the Mythics world, or I'm a Mythics officer serving under Elthia or whatever. You know, that sort of thing. And
that's a good idea. I've actually seen that on a previous forum where they actually was an old Command and Conquer fan forum where they actually had a role play section for, well, this was Command in this type of setting. Yeah, you could have that.
Right, and it's not necessarily just a role play section. These people, like, once that community got started, they formed it on their own. Like, they would induct new Bobs into the order, for example, you know, and they invented their own hazing rituals and all that stuff. And once we got the ball rolling, it was pretty much a self-propagating and self-sustaining thing. And you know, if we could implement something along those lines, be it like role play in a forum, or you know how, I'm loath to use this as an example, but you know how in Harry Potter you have the main characters, but it's left so open that anyone could imagine themselves as a wizard in that world, right?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Right. So anyone can imagine themselves as a Banshee. Not the main one, but a Banshee, you know? Or they can imagine themselves as a Myrmidon in Adobe's army or whatever the hell, you know? It's just left wide open, and anyone can imagine themselves as a part of it. And that's where I think we have a huge opportunity to build a strong community.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, like, for one, the fan art I picked up alone says that Changeling's already building up a community. Just gotta get the ball rolling more for you guys.
Yeah. Well, I might have some more time this year. We'll see. But yeah, the idea is not necessarily just to say, hey, we love Maeve, but it's like the world is intriguing enough that I actually feel like I'm a part of the world. You know, and Maeve is just one small part of it. Yeah, granted, the main story centers around her, but hey, I can imagine that I'm doing an adventure off to the side here, or I'm indirectly or directly affecting events in the main story, whether it appears in canon or not. And that was what was occurring quite a bit. There were so many fan fictions written about Bobs and how they were sort of indirectly affecting the events of the comic. Now, I didn't acknowledge any of it, but they sure had a lot of fun writing it. So, and that kept them engaged.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can definitely do that. So yeah, I think you're off to a great start with Maeve and all that. We just got to, I guess, make the worlds open enough and rich enough so that people can very easily insert themselves into it.
Not just that, like, also say, like, I think, like, giving them, like, if we can, like, put it in some kind of members only feature, like, got to give them really good perks.
Right. And here's another example. Like, ever since the whole Vox Day kerfuffle earlier this year with Comicsgate and all that, I've actually been researching him very thoroughly. And he has actually a very strong community, and he has them all arranged in hierarchies. And it's actually very reminiscent of what we did back in the day. Like, he has like the Dread Ilk and the Evil Legion of Evil and all that. And it's all silly, but you know, everyone has a lot of fun acting within those hierarchies. We could do something similar to that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah. And it's actually built into the story. Like, there are like several different hierarchies in the Paladin Order, and all the wizards that are associated with them have their own ranks and hierarchies and power grades, and same with the Myrmidons. And I'm sure there's something very similar in the Mythics world and all that. And
yeah,
how we can, you know.
I was gonna say, like, I haven't worked it out yet, but I will. But to say the Fae don't have their own kind of hierarchy, I mean, like, I already did write a hierarchy, and I mean, like, I mentioned they've got a High King and Queen that rules over all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think about the most I sort of worked out in my head was that like the Fae are more like they're very. I mean, like sort of going back to the Celtic roots of all those old stories. The Fae are very clannish. Like they tend to they like every like they're all very they're organized by clans essentially.
Mm-hmm. And there you go. There you've got the different, like someone you can have a Sorting Hat analog where you say I'm in this clan or I'm in that clan.
Yeah,
you know, give them an identity. Give them give them a quiz or something. Like say, what would you do in this situation? And you say, well, then you belong in this clan. Wee. You know, that kind of stuff. That can be all you know. Go ahead.
Or just or something like something like that, or maybe just like sort of maybe I can crimp something from White Wolf and like have him build like a character sheet or something.
Oh, that's something else I wanted to mention. Around the time that my old webcomic was at its peak, there was another site called GoGaia.com, and its shtick was that you could design your avatar like a paper doll, and they had so many different options, and the artwork was actually very good, and it was just a giant role-playing forum. But yeah, like you were saying, a character sheet. You can say, I want to be a part of this order. Here's my race. Here's my class. And here's what clan I belong to because of reasons. And there could be a great big role-playing element to it. And
what I'm sort of looking at more is like also the rewards, just like the reward parts of it too. Like if you were in the members only, if you were like a paying member or something, like what exactly would you get out of that besides like all the role-playing part? I mean, like that's good too, but like what about? But like, how do you sort of reward? What's the reward?
I would say like message boards are a real hard sell. I mean, people just aren't into that as much as they used to be. So it seems to be more like based on video and chat like Discord. But it seems to be like, if someone is a member of a certain premium tier, they can get custom artwork for themselves. Maybe some kind of custom emote in a chat that only they have. That's customized around their character an OC that they have or something like that. As long as it feels like theirs, then they'll be loyal to the property.
And then that's something I saw Cody offer a little bit, and I see a lot of guys do it as well. Is at the end of the day, if the guys go and pay a certain tier, they could have eventually, after enough funds have been built up, they could have their OC drawn by, say, the artist of the comic.
Exactly. Like that was the main sell of the old webcomic, was that each and every one of those people that responded to that thread, they got a line in the comic, and they actually did something that affected the plot. They weren't just like a little cameo. It's like I managed to write in like something important for like 50 different users to do, something like that. And at the time, obviously, that was all free. But like Tank said, yeah, if you are that much of a friend of the property, and you are at a certain premium tier, then yeah, your OC could be written into this universe as a perk, and the universe is expansive enough to allow almost any kind of character. So it's quite literally limitless what we could do with that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm also gonna say like this sort of system that Brian set up for Rags. That's also worth looking into. Just although I mean, like I know most of the reward system he set up was kind of tailored for Patreon, but I don't think he's changed it all that much. To my knowledge, I'd have to talk to him.
Yeah, but it's a similar idea. Like you give them different ranks and thus different privileges and/or maybe even responsibilities. Based upon their subscription level. And yeah, this isn't something that we need a middleman for. I mean, I've written a number of different, payment portals and e-commerce solutions. It's just a matter of like you said, keeping track of the accounts, being able to handle chargebacks and all that sort of thing. And of course,
keeping track of the money is the real challenge because, as far as I know, none of us are accountants by trade.
No, None of us are accountants by trade, but I know a number of them. many of my wife's friends are, etc. So, whether or not they're available at the drop of a hat for work like this on the side, I don't know at the moment, but
That's
definitely something that could be worth looking into.
Oh my god! If you can actually get an account that'll work for free, that's amazing.
Well,
You
that
just
could probably have to.
I have a cursory passing knowledge of accounting.
Cursory passing on.
I had it as a required subject in high school.
I got through my accounting courses in college by the skin of my teeth.
Yeah, you definitely want a certified accountant taking care of your books. That's the thing.
You don't want somebody who will cook them.
It's not the math that tripped me up. It was the language.
And the compliance, because that changes from time to time. You know, you need to be. That's why you got to be certified.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I don't think the compliance was the problem. It's just like It was just 2 accounting courses, and the thing I struggled with most was the terminology. It's like, I mean, like I know the difference between a liability and an asset is, but I do not know how to. I know what overhead means, but all the finer details. Oh my god! It's like me trying to learn Spanish back in high school again.
Well, that's more of a phase 2 thing. For right now, let's just see if we can nail down some actionable ideas in terms of like, once we've got the community, how do we engage them? And like for us, it was easy back then. There wasn't any YouTube. There wasn't any social media. Like communities lived and died on their message boards. So it's pretty easy to, like, if you had a good product, people would stay on your site and people would use your message boards and your community built. Now everyone's on all these big central sites. It's hard to convince them to come off of them. I've tried many times. So, yeah. So I think our answer may lie in, like, a centralized Discord where we have a good, strong community where we interact strongly with everybody and we give them, hierarchies and responsibilities. We recognize them. Like when, like, Paul Muad'Dib recognized 10, like, of his greatest warriors, he marked their uniforms and called them the Fedaykin, that kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. People like to be recognized by people they look up to. People like that sort of thing, and people thrive on positive attention. So it worked in the past. Now the only tricky part now is, the internet's a little bit different than it was back then. People's browsing habits are different. People read less. People want to listen and watch more. So
yeah,
maybe more video, maybe more Discord, all that sort of thing.
More streaming stuff.
Yeah,
it's definitely good because it feels like you're actually interacting with the people in real time.
Right. But yeah, I mean, I think the seeds are there. I mean, people love the Changeling product, obviously, once they find out about it. Yeah. And I think the same will be said for all of our other products too. And like I said, just find a way to make them feel like they belong in the universe, like organic. And I think that we'll develop some really good heart that way.
Mm-hmm.
And just give them a world that, it's relatable. The world they want to live in. That's it. That's the thing. Make a world that they want to come home to and escape into.
Which is, at least in Changeling's case, that's going to be funny because like at least a good chunk of it is spent around mucking about in Aberdeen.
But there's something to be said for that. I mean, small towns like where everyone knows each other and everyone isn't afraid of each other. And everyone just like, I'm not gonna lock my doors if I know everybody, because I know your name and you know my name and we know each other's families. We hang out, our families hang out together. They cook out together. There's something to be said for that intimate small town feeling. And that was what I got when I visited Aberdeen that one time anyway. So.
Yeah, that was kind of why I chose it, just because I mean, it's not called an urban fairy tale for nothing. It's
Sure.
I'm trying to like I purposely modeled it after off fairy tales and no, and has anyone ever come across a fairy tale that happened in a big city? I don't think they exist.
Well, they do, and there's like deconstructions of them, like what was it, the Fable series with the Wolf Among Us, all that stuff. Like they had all the fables confined to like a borough in New York City or something.
Yeah, but even then, these still can kind of have a small, like they still have their own community though.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, so it's still like that's kind of a big thing I picked up on is that is that a big part of the like the fairy tale setting is that it kind of it kind of happens in a place that's sort of like away from civilization. Like that's why a lot of the settings are very rural.
Yeah, it really helps in a lot of those stories to be set there also because often the call to adventure is stimulated by the loss of parents or some other guardianship character. And if you're out in the middle of nowhere with no support, it's much easier to say, okay, I'm leaving everything behind to go out on an awesome adventure, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I guess in summary, like I said, we just need likable characters that people want to hang out with in a world that they feel comfortable with, and just sort of welcome them in. Be accessible, both personally and with our stories. And I think they'll just be knocking our doors down. That's one thing that's missing. Is that a lot of times creators hold the readers in contempt, and that's what the whole Comicsgate things came from. And now we're getting it all over again with the new wave of quote revolutionary former pros unquote. They're doing the same damn thing over again. Yep. And it's like I don't know, man. I mean, Ethan Van Sciver's a hell of a penciler, but the world of Cyberfrog and isn't something that I would necessarily choose to inhabit, whereas Changeling feels like a nice warm fuzzy blanket.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, like, and also it's just kind of like I think what Matt and Tank told me is that it's a lot of what seems to attract people to Maeve is that they can tell she's an innocent character.
Yep.
Yeah, and she's an innocent character that isn't an annoying, badass know-it-all. I really can't stand that character type. Like, she's smarter than all the adults in her life, and she rolls her eyes at her dad because he's such an idiot, that sort of thing. And I don't know, she just feels like a real little child, and that's when she's in danger. You're like, oh no, protect that poor little thing. Not like, oh, I hope she gets punched because I hate her guts. No.
Well, it kind of helps that I made her purposely bad at school.
Right, and that's something the majority of people are. Especially, ironically enough, a lot of the smart kids, because they get so bored, they don't want to do the work, and they. Like a friend of mine, his kid is obviously a genius, but he does terrible in school because he just hates it. He hates the work. It's like I'd rather be doing something else because this is boring. Anyway, so
yeah,
it's about it's almost 12. Go ahead.
No, it's funny. I don't really see, although it can be said, but I don't see a lot of people wanting to inhabit my main story because it's normal people tend to die violent deaths quite quickly.
I don't know. For some reason, there are people who unironically want to be in the 40K universe.
Yeah, but
of course,
that's probably the people that want to be Space Marines or Eldar, not Imperial Guard.
Oh yeah, that poor Imperial Guard. Yeah, they only exist to be saved by the Space Marines.
They only exist to be slaughtered en masse.
Well, it's either Space Marines, Eldar, or Psychers.
It's like I was playing Space Marine, and like I walk up to like the commander or the surviving commander because they've all been massacred. I'm like, 3 of us are going to turn the tide of this whole thing. What the hell do we need you for? Like, are you just there to distract them while we get ourselves situated? Is that it?
Pretty much.
man.
Yeah, but
Art is for.
well, if you know if you know the whole story, I mean, this is where it all gets stupid. If you especially talk about the numbers that they Luton actually did a good video on that. He states specifically why 40K is so stupid, but that is why he loves it, and I fully agree with him. Especially when it comes down to the numbers game. When they talk about the millions upon millions of people being slaughtered and killed, it's like, yeah, it doesn't make sense. But if it comes down to it, I mean, even the Space Marines themselves still require the assistance from the Imperial Guard. The Imperial Guard's that good when it comes down to attacking. That is, the bulwark. The guys who are actually doing the hammering the nails into the ground, that'll be the Space Marines.
Yeah, let me put it this way. There's like where was it? It's like that one thing in Pity that. Let's see if I can find that. And it's from this one video called Pity the Guardsman.
I have to watch that. I have it on my watch later list.
Yeah, it's just got this. It's just the line in it. The texting is just really good. It's just, I mean, it opens up. You got this one Chaos Marine who's just boasting about how the Imperial Guard is a joke. Oh, their dead god doesn't care about them, and he's got it all because he worships chaos. Well, then an Ultramarine comes in and he says, "You would laugh, monster, but let me remind you, within that weak sack of meat and bone, uncared for by his god and wept for by none, beats a heart, a human heart that carries it with the strength and courage of all mankind. Within that sack of meat is ensconced the hope, the will, and the fury of every man, woman, and child from every corner of the Imperium. Within that weak sack of meat, festooned in thin armor and weapons only powerful in numbers, beats the heart of a man, and for 10,000 years the hearts of men have beaten strongly in defiance of your so-called powers. For 10,000 years, the hearts of men have stood united against a galaxy that despises them for no reason, save that they have the audacity not to lay down and die. For 10,000 years, your Black Crusades have been pushed back, beaten down, and made a mockery of by weak sacks of flesh with cheap weapons and disposable equipment. For that weak sack of flesh you so gleefully mock is no super soldier, no immortal warrior, no creature cursed by chaos like you. He is a man, an Imperial Guardsman drawn from some forgotten corner of the Imperium to fight for his species and for the safety of the people he loves. He is a factory worker, a farmer, a storekeeper, a father, a brother, a son, a mere man. And against creatures like you, teeming and numberless, powered by the very will of thirsting gods, he holds the line, and he has held the line for 10,000 years. So what's your excuse, monster?"
Mic drop.
Yeah. That's a set. Yeah, I mean, like, they might exist to be cannon fodder, but that's the thing. Like, the Imperial Guard might be essentially cannon fodder, but you know what? It's more what they represent. It's that humanity just refuses to die.
Pretty much.
Yeah. On the numbers thing, this Law series, like I said, I'm watching for the Siege of Vrux is quite interesting, especially when it comes down to talking about the numbers game that they throw around for 40K.
Well, wasn't the idea is like they want to depict like these really epic large scale battles, right? That are like almost mythic.
Yeah, but you need to watch the series. I mean, Archer's voice takes a little bit of getting used to because he's got a very unique style of narrating these things, but he puts it down succinctly. The Siege of Vrux would be the climactic end to most normal. The start of the battle would be the end to most, epic novels. But being 40K, it goes that much further.
Yeah, I mean, like, even take, like, Hell's Reach. I mean, like, you would think, like, just that the first siege and that would be like, the big climax in the novel, but no, there's still that much more to the story.
or the 3 separate wars for Armageddon.
Yeah.
While the third one is quote unquote not listed in Imperial law because of the invasion of Angron. And for the most part, if you read follow the law, our good friends in the Imperium do tend to try to keep the thing of chaos hidden from the standard citizenry, as to try and starve the chaos gods of more people thinking and believing about them.
Yeah. Well, no. Well, of course. Then again, unfortunately, the Emperor was kind of wrong in that. It's because the Chaos Gods don't need people to believe them to have power. It's just Core needs people just to kill each other. Nurgle just needs
People to be sick
and die. Tzeentch needs people to be ambitious and cunning, and Slaanesh just
needs people to murder fuck each other.
Exactly. Yeah, they don't need to be worshipped per se.
No, just that is a separate act.
Yeah.
Associated with what that quote unquote deity is aligned with is what they need.
Yeah. I think I remember there's been a couple theories floating around that the Emperor might have been inadvertently creating a chaos god of unbelief.
Yeah. Oh well. And then I don't know, but still the reason I think 40K is, regardless, even my friends who don't like it, they still are interested in it because of my one friend likes the vehicle designs. Literally, that's the only reason he likes it, is because of the vehicle designs. That's it. He doesn't like the story. He doesn't like the factions. He just literally likes how the vehicles look. Something for everybody in there, I suppose.
I guess.
Except the love story. Even though they did do a love story between a Vindicare assassin that fell in love with an Eldar Farseer.
Still a better love story than Twilight?
I think I remember seeing a little short film on YouTube once. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, that is actually canon, believe it or not.
Say what?
Yep. Somebody took what they read and turned it into a animated short film.
Damn.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that guy's a heretic for falling in love with a Xeno.
Well, I'm pretty certain if they ever find him, he's dead.
Yeah, he was definitely on the get a load of this heretic cam.
Definitely.
I think that's my favorite meme to use. I don't know why. It's just so ridiculous.
Oh, it's just because it's easier to make a list of the things you can do that won't make you a heretic in 40K.
It's crazy. It's funny, they tried to stamp out religion, in the end it's the thing that killed them.
The emperor tried to stamp out religion.
And in the end, oh look, you're a deity yourself.
Well, what's even funny, I think what's even more ironic about it is the thing they use for their holy book. You know who the author is?
Who?
It's Lorgar.
Yep.
And he was one of the traitor Primarchs.
Yeah, only because the Emperor chastised them numerous times.
Yeah, but that's the funny thing. Their holy book that says the Emperor is a god is written by a fucking heretic.
Wow.
The heresy train has no brakes.
No, it doesn't. I think it's time to drop a 40k meme again. I haven't done that this morning.
But I remember, like, Brava Alpha Boost, the guy who does if the Emperor had a text-to-speech device, he had like I think a short-lived side series called "If the Emperor Had a Podcast." And one of the episodes, they went over a short story called "The Last Church," where the emperor talked to the priest from that church, and to get on, and it was actually a really good debate. Hey, because like he brings up, since you want to get on the demons for their names and appearances, how about I bring up all the stuff your Imperium resurrected? And he lists off things like churches, cathedrals, crusades, heretic. And the Emperor's only response is, most of that was Lorgar. and he just said, hey, Lorgar.
Yeah, no, it's nuts. But the funny thing is, a lot of people still believe it's Erebus, the first chaplain of the Word Bearers, that did it. And there's a lot of information that kind of proves that he's the one that started whispering in Lorgar's ear as well, to rather look towards chaos. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people still believe that if it weren't for Erebus, Lorgar would have remained true to the Emperor, albeit a slightly more spurned believer than he was.
I don't disagree, but it's just like, but it's just like a lot of this. It's just like a lot of the shit that's sort of like common parlance in the Imperium. That's stuff that Lorgar made. Like I said, like their whole holy book was written by him.
Yeah, so inadvertently he made the worst and biggest opponent to Chaos.
Kinda, yeah.
Albeit unintentionally.
Yeah.
Things to not do.
Oh boy.
No, like literally to not do. Don't do that. Don't write books you don't want people to read.
I mean, seriously, you should do it like you might be a heretic if, Jeff Foxworthy.
I think Lorgar wanted people to read it, but it's just more like, I don't know. Lorgar is one of the Primarchs I don't really get him.
Yeah, and I still honestly believe that they should have rather made Mortarion and Perturabo rogue Primarchs rather than demon Primarchs.
I think they wanted to round out, have like one, like they made, like Magnus is a demon prince for Tzeentch, Fulgrim is for Slaanesh, Angron for Khorne. They needed someone for Nurgle.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah.
I still think that would have been, because at the end of the day, if you read everything, listen to the lore and everything, Mortarion is funny how we went to 40k again.
Yeah, I know. It's like, I'm not going to Robin Mortarion. It makes the least sense, especially considering that Mortarion actually hates being a demon prince, and he hates Nurgle too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just had to bring that up because we keep doing this. It's probably my fault, partially.
Well, the thing about 40k is it's so easy to meme the hell out of it, and it's just so much fun to talk about.
Yeah.
It's even if you take away the stupidity, they do so many things right in terms of how they blend technology and magic and all those things.
Yeah, no doubt. And like I said, it was one of the last unabashedly masculine IPs, so I really like seeing it thrive.
Yeah, even though it's ridiculous amount of, yeah.
That's the beautiful part about it.
I mean, but it's ridiculous in the same way those Schwarzenegger and Stallone action movies were back in the 80s.
Yeah, it's like, you son of a bitch, look at our muscles. Come on, guys, that's fantastic. We need more shit like that.
We actually need that again, not the current stuff we have these days, because to be perfectly honest, the large majority of heroes today in films, I mean, come the fuck on, guys, really. I think the only reason I'm really enjoying Punisher as much as I am is because they're not afraid to, have the lead character do badass shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, it's on the slow part now where they are doing more investigation and talky parts, but it's still up. And yes, I can fully see where Brian caught his hate for it.
Mm-hmm.
I can 100% see everything because I'm sitting there watching this with my father, who's also a military vet, and the funny errors and shit that they make. So I can sit there and appreciate it for what it is, but I can also kind of see where Brian gets his knocks in it all.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't hold it against him. It's just like he knows these things. Yeah. Kind of funny that Brian. Well, every time Brian talks about how Marvel could have had us, he wants to be writing Miles Morales instead of the Punisher.
Oh, well,
Yeah, though.
Sorry, you want to say?
I think he knows that they'll have him do only a black character.
Right, because, identity politics. But, any character can be cool as long as you do it right.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, like as much as I don't like Saladin Ahmed as a person, he is actually doing something right with Miles right now.
Hell, even a good writer can make Squirrel Girl interesting. I mean, it really just depends on how it's done.
Or if they could be paying the artist more and have good art.
Well, yeah, that's another piece of the pie, of course, but,
Oh god. What does it say? What does it say when a guy like me can get an art team that is better than what Marvel gets for Squirrel Girl?
What it says is you care about your property and you're not coasting on the success of decades of audience goodwill and brand recognition.
Yeah, they're just... The whole thing about Marvel right now is all about what they had in the past. They're not paying people enough because they believe that anyone who works for them should be honored by it. When really, they're there for the job. To take money.
Oh, so they're trying to sell Marvel like it's a prestige gig.
Yep.
Yeah, this is why they can barely afford to pay their rent.
Which is why I think they're gonna. Why DNC speculates they're going to be closing down their New York office.
Well, gee, how are those comics selling?
Great.
Selling? What is this selling word? I don't understand.
Oh, they sell just fine because they use gimmicks to sell their comics to the stores. They don't care about the people who buy them.
Yeah, I mean, the difference is when I was buying comics when I was in high school, people were talking about them. People were saying, like, this is the coolest thing. People were discussing Wolverine. People were discussing Storm and Spider-Man and whatever the latest thing was at the time. And no one talks about these books. I mean,
definitely were not talking about them when I was in high school.
Yeah. Like, I have never heard Miles Morales' name mentioned by, a casual fan or normie, so to speak. But back when I was in high school, everyone knew who Wolverine was and what his powers were, It was just so much more compelling and so much more, I don't know. Nowadays, no one knows anything about any of these characters or what they do.
If that's assuming that they didn't get all their information from the movies.
Well, yeah, there's that too. Or Marvel Puzzle Quest. That's where a lot of the characters go now.
Well, the thing is, if Marvel's smart, they'd use the popularity of the movies to sell comics. They would not have done any of this replacement stuff.
I actually caught a thread on Twitter the other day that actually put a lot of shit into perspective for me. Apparently, Marvel Comics and Marvel Studios do not like each other.
Well, wouldn't be surprised. They're not exactly cooperating.
Kind of like how Warner Brothers TV and Warner Brothers Films don't get along.
Yeah, and do you want? The interesting thing is there's a person we can actually put the blame on for this.
Tom Brevoort, Joe Quesada,
Ike Perlmutter.
Oh,
I don't like Ike, I guess.
Because here's the thing, do you guys know that Ike Perlmutter is notoriously cheap?
No, I know it now, I suppose.
Well, apparently his cheapness was sort of a noose around Kevin Feige's neck. And Kevin Feige was fighting to get free of Ike Perlmutter. And which is how Marvel Studios ended up getting purchased by Disney. Because now he doesn't. So now Kevin Feige more or less got the freedom he wanted. He doesn't have to answer to Perlmutter anymore. Disney pretty much lets him do what he wants.
Well, I guess the takeaway from all this is we care about what we're doing and they don't. So
yeah.
That's why you get a better art team. That's why you get people who are enthusiastic about your product. You know, and that's why everything's going to be great next year. So we're gonna.
Tank put it like Tank said that 2019 is going to be the year of the Banshee.
It'll be the year of a lot of cool things. Let's just make it happen.
No, the reason I stated that is because the overwhelming response I saw to your character, dude. It's like that is why I stated that.
Yeah, I think
I wouldn't be surprised.
Go down well.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing a lot of actual Banshee themed characters popping up all of a sudden.
Like they. Although they're gonna have to. I'm gonna wonder if any of them are gonna try to make a male because there's an issue because the Banshees are all women.
Yep, I know, and that's the one thing where research comes into it.
Although that's probably gonna fly over real well with some of the SJWs until they start looking deeper into the book and find out. Wait, this is not as progressive as I thought it would be.
Well, they weren't going to buy it anyway. Who cares?
They will have pirated it.
They'll pass around a copy of it so they can take a selfie, etc., etc.
Although I'm not gonna lie though, that is gonna. It's just I can't. They're gonna. It's just gonna. I'm gonna laugh if someone actually tricks themselves. If an SJW tricks themselves into reading it because they'll crack it open thinking it's progressive and then they'll find out, wait, what's this?
They won't because the art is too good.
It'll be like, wait a minute, what's this? Christianity be presented in a positive light? Two female friends that aren't gay for each other?
Yeah.
And it doesn't even take shots of the Orange Man ever?
Yeah, I avoided all that by setting my story in the recent past before all that happened. That way I don't have to worry about keeping my slang current and all that nonsense.
I don't even know how teenagers talk, so I'm just going to try to write. So just try to write
in text.
What?
In text.
Yeah, they talk in text or TikTok now. That's the new thing.
Yeah. I'm just gonna. That's just so dumb.
Yep.
That pretty much sums up much of 2018. That is just so dumb.
Like tripod challenge.
And to think it all started back in the day with a fucking cinnamon challenge.
You know, at
And
least
back then,
cinnamon
people were
is
actually stupid
edible.
enough to try that.
At least cinnamon is edible.
Yeah, not a whole teaspoon of the stuff dry, or a whole tablespoon.
No. Personally, I say it's more of the fire challenge.
It's just.
Yeah.
I'm kind of wondering though how far are we? I think I'm trying to think what the next big challenge is, and we had the Tide Pod challenge. Now I'm wondering if the next challenge is going to be around. I'm trying to think what it is.
Jumping off a skyscraper?
What? Jump
No,
from
we
sky-
should try to make the Russian roulette challenge big.
What's bigger than jumping off a skyscraper?
Well, that's a certain thing. Russian roulette still has a bit of thrill to it.
Ah, yeah. Oh boy, those are dumb people. I feel like these challenges it's just Darwinism at work.
Yeah.
Well-
I kind of. It's just like.
Well, I
It's-
think it may have been initiated by someone who was just trolling the hell out of people, just to see how many
Probably.
people he could get to do it. Like,
Well,
It's not even. It's not even Darwin. It is Darwinism, like you said. Sorry, I interjected there, but it's
Right.
literally the fact. I mean, what hasn't happened, and this is going to sound very nasty. What thing hasn't happened recently, of which
Nice.
we've had numerous ones in the past that usually involved large swaths of the population.
Wars.
I assume, yeah, I was gonna say that.
Well, not necessarily wars. There was usually something like, I don't know, nice little plagues sorting people out.
Oh, plagues. Oh,
Quite
because
that and wars.
They tend to go hand in hand.
Oh yeah. Although I mean, like the closest we got to that was that outbreak of H1N1 like about 10 years ago. But that kind of petered out pretty quickly, I think.
That's just the reason. I mean, everybody's complaining about how our immune systems are even more compromised than they were. This is running out, that's running out. And then I'm like, then why hasn't the common cold killed everybody yet?
Yeah,
That's what I was getting at.
So instead of the population getting culled through disease, it's getting culled through people being stupid.
Except it's much, much, much slower. So nature is now taking the other way. Using people are starting to think up stupidity because let's be perfectly honest here. People are bored.
Well, especially in the first world.
Extremely bored.
So you look at something like a Tide Pod and you say, this looks kind of similar to a gummy.
Let's
Because
eat it.
people are stupid. But yeah, so that's the whole thing that I got behind that. But that said, guys, I'm going to drop off because I need coffee. I need to go get some food as well. It's nearly 8 a.m.
It's almost 10 p.m. out here, and it's probably almost 1 where Matt and Dan are.
Yep.
Yep. I'm gonna have to call out too, mainly because my phone's at 2%. I just checked, and my
Thanks,
wife's
guys.
probably
Thank you
wondering
very
where I am.
All I guess I can say is thanks for coming down, guys. I really appreciate it because I did not have anyone to spend Christmas with this year, and thanks to everyone who did show up to watch. Hope you had a Merry Christmas with your family or loved ones.
Yeah.
You do the same
I'll
for
still
us,
be I'll still be on chat and everything else if you guys need me. Thanks, guys. Thanks again.
Later.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Later.